Chapter 331. Seeing this, Qin Shujian was overjoyed. The fire lotus condensed. This proved that the Wisdom King Hellfire was indeed useful to the demon clan. He reached out his hand. The fire lotus floated over. After Qin Shujian held the fire lotus, an incomparably pure energy came from it and then crazily poured into his body. Boom, boom. The vast energy was surging like the sea. In an instant, the spiritual deity, which was originally more than 260 feet, instantly increased to 300 feet after being replenished by this energy. When the spiritual deity reached 300 feet, Qin Shujian seemed to feel that something in his mind seemed to have broken, but it seemed that nothing had changed. The divine consciousness that was originally consumed by the formation. After the spiritual deity reached 300 feet, it immediately replenished like a tide. In less than 2 breaths, his divine consciousness was restored to its original peak. Moreover, it was much stronger than before. At the same time, after devouring the fire lotus, Qin Shujian also saw that his life source had directly increased by 1 million points. A half-step celestial being demon clan expert can provide 1 million points of life source, and the energy provided by the fire lotus is much more than that of a demon. The demon is a celestial being expert, and the demon clan just now is only a half-step celestial being. Could it be? Qin Shujian looked at the empty void in front of him and thought to himself, no matter from which aspect, the energy and life source provided by the silver giant eagle were several streets ahead of that of the demon. If this comparison went on, then the problem should lie here. At that time, the strength of the demon was suppressed to the limit of basic martial arts, while the silver giant eagle perfectly exerted its half-step celestial being strength. So when the Wisdom King Hellfire devoured it, the life source and energy provided by the two would be so different. However, this explanation was too forced after all. But what the specific difference was, Qin Shujian couldn't figure it out for the time being, so he could only suppress the doubts in his heart. Then he looked at the surrounding void. With a wave of his hand, the formation pattern shattered, and the guru-level formation that was originally set up finally began to gradually disintegrate. Outside, countless formation runes appeared in the void and then shattered bit by bit. Many people's attention fell on the formation runes that appeared, including Guotong. At this moment, all of their attention was on it. Qin Shujian won. In the end, the Black Abyss won. If it was the former, then Guotong was certain that this attack on Taishan City was a complete failure. If the latter wins, even if Qingming Emissary was defeated, he still had a chance to defeat Wu Tai. After all, the other party had already used up the trump card of Zhu Bing's shadow. Guotong did not believe that the other party still had other trump cards. The half-step celestial the Black Abyss was enough to deal with the two of them. As for Wu Tai and Su Mingyang, they were a little nervous. Qingming Emissary had 2 David decrees. It was hard to guarantee that the other person didn't have any other trump cards. Even though Qin Shujian was an array Dao Grandmaster, it was not certain that he could win. It was just that the formation in front of him had been set up. No one could interfere. Now, they could only wait for the formation to shatter before they could see the results. Bang! The great array was completely destroyed. When the aftershock spread out, a green-robed figure floated down and landed beside Wu Tai and the others. Seeing this scene, the expressions of both sides changed greatly. One side was shocked. The other side was overjoyed. Retreat. Seeing that only Qin Shujian appeared, how could Guotong not understand that the Black Abyss Emissary had fallen? Without thinking, he immediately announced the retreat of the army. An order was given. The army steadily retreated. Even if the army retreated, the enemy camp was not scattered. A part of them retreated first, and the infantry in the front moved to cover the rear, steadily retreating. However, Guotong wanted to retreat, but Wu Tai would not let the other party retreat. He immediately raised his arm and shouted, "Everyone, follow me in charge. The promotion is now, kill, kill." The enemy retreated, and the morale of the imperial court side was greatly boosted. Wu Tai's words made them even more excited. As for Qin Shujian, at this moment, he did not hesitate too much. He took a step into the air, waved his hand, and covered the ground with a formation, swallowing a lot of the enemy. In the formation, The enemy first panicked for a moment, but soon recovered and formed a military formation, trying to burst out a powerful attack to break the formation. However, these were just ordinary troops. Even if they formed a military formation, their strength was not very strong. The formation was activated. Thousands of saber chi swept across, and in the next moment, a cold light pierced through the void. A long arrow directly scattered the army's soul. The army's soul collapsed. Everyone in the military formation was injured. Subsequently, Qin Shu Jian pressed his palm, and the killing power of the formation completely erupted. In an instant, heaven and earth turned upside down. Everyone was completely buried in it. In less than a quarter of an hour, at least 3,000 people were killed by the formation. Qin Shu Jian looked at the life source that had increased by hundreds of thousands. His eyes suddenly burst out with light, and then his gaze fell on the other enemy soldiers. Soon, then, another formation was set up, covering an army of 1,000 people. At this moment, the killing means of the formation Grandmaster on the battlefield were finally revealed in front of everyone. Waving his hand, he could set up a formation, cover thousands of people, and then kill such a large number of enemy soldiers in less than a moment. Such speed, even an ordinary celestial being may not be able to reach it. After all, this was just a formation set up with a wave of his hand. If the other party was given some time to set up a formation that included tens of thousands of people, or even hundreds of thousands of people, by then, it would be a real killing machine. The army that was originally retreating steadily. After Qin Shu Jian took action, the morale dropped a lot. There was no other way. With a wave of his hand, a large number of brothers were swallowed and killed by the formation. The shock it caused was even more terrifying than when a god martial arts realm cultivator directly killed them. No one knew. Would they become the target of the formation in the next moment? Therefore, the army that was retreating in an orderly manner had already caused a lot of chaos. When Guotong brought people back to Yongfeng City, only then did Wu Tai stop his pursuit. He looked at a portion of the army that had already entered the city. Then, he ordered his subordinates to kill the remaining portion of the rebel army that had been abandoned outside the city before they could retreat into Yongfeng City in time. After that, he led his troops and left. In the city, Guotong's face was as pale as ash. Behind him, the army that was originally close to 400,000 people was now less than 100,000. In other words, in the battle just now, he directly lost 3/4 of his men. Most of these people were the defenders of Yongfeng City. In other words, at this moment, Yongfeng City's defensive forces were empty. If they waited for the imperial court to rest and then attacked the city together, the probability of Yongfeng City being defended was too low. Even Guotong could already foresee how angry Marquis Qianshan would be if he reported this matter. On the other side, the imperial court's army also withdrew to Taishan City. After a simple check of the battle losses, Wu Tai's face directly bloomed with joy. A total victory. This time, it was really a total victory. The imperial court's side lost no more than 50,000 people and directly killed more than 200,000 people of the enemy's army. The battle loss ratio reached 1:5. Not to mention, along the way, they chased and killed and collected a lot of weapons, armors, and other materials. These were calculated. It was another great harvest. In the city lord's mansion, Wu Tai was in a very good mood now. He smiled and said, "This time, more than 200,000 people of the rebel army were killed. But now, drinking is not allowed during the war. When the war is over, we will hold a banquet to celebrate." Speaking of this, his gaze fell on Qin Shu Jian and said solemnly, "This time, if Grandmaster Qin had not taken action and killed a half-step celestial being expert first, our army may not have been able to occupy such a great advantage." In the follow-up chase, Grandmaster Qin also achieved remarkable results. This time, I have reported this matter to the imperial court. If there is a reward, I think it will come after a while. I just came because I was invited. This is my duty. Lord Wu, you don't have to be so polite, Qin Shu Jian said with a faint smile. This time, he was really happy. Looking at the attribute panel, which had already reached more than 3 million life sources, he understood how fast the Formation Grandmaster harvested life sources on the battlefield. In the past, more than 3 million points of life sources. It would take at least 1 or 2 months to accumulate so much. Now, it was only half a day. It offset 1 or 2 months of the past. In such a comparison, today's harvest, Qin Shujian could not help but be shocked. In his opinion, if there were a few more such battles, he was afraid that he would be able to collect enough life sources to upgrade the Guiyuan ancestral cannon. However, this matter was just a thought in his heart. It was absolutely impossible for him to say it out directly. After all, after a great battle, no matter how remarkable the battle results were, they had to bear a certain amount of losses. Subsequently, Wu Tai talked about some morale-boosting topics. Then, with a solemn expression, he said in a deep voice, Guotong's army must include the defending army of Yongfeng City. Now that the army has been defeated, the defending power of Yongfeng City must be much weaker. Therefore, I have decided that the army will take a short rest today and launch an attack tomorrow to completely take down Yongfeng City. Now, the defending power of Yongfeng City was empty. Even if they wanted to deploy the army, it would take some time. Under such circumstances, if the imperial court launched an attack, it would be easy to take down Yongfeng City. Even if the other party had the Great City Protection Array, they had the Formation Grandmaster on their side. In front of the Formation Grandmaster, the so-called Great City Protection Array could not withstand a single blow. Therefore, no matter how one looked at it, the following battle in Yongfeng City had an extremely high chance of winning. To this, the others did not speak out against it. The situation was now clear. Yongfeng City would definitely not be able to stop them. Subsequently, Wu Tai's order was passed down. At the same time, Taishan City also sent people to other cities to inquire about the situation. Now that the rebels wanted to launch a sneak attack on Taishan City, the other cities would definitely not be peaceful. Chapter 332. Just as Wu Tai expected, apart from Taishan City, all the other cities were attacked by the enemy. But most of the cities were like Taishan City. All of them managed to block the enemy's sneak attack. Only 2 cities were caught off guard and were forced to retreat by the enemy in the end. Back and forth, both sides suffered losses. Just as the army of Taishan City was resting in the endless mountain range, a majestic hall that was like a mountain range was located in a valley. In the hall, there were a total of 12 seats, and each seat was occupied by a person. A terrifying aura spread out from it. These auras gathered together. It caused the space to distort slightly. All of a sudden, a middle-aged man with silver hair opened his eyes. There seemed to be a terrifying aura brewing in his eyes. He slowly said, 12 netherworld envoys have fallen. As soon as he finished speaking, the other 11 people also opened their eyes. Everyone had an indifferent look on their faces. The Black Abyss Envoy has condensed the divine feather, and its power is comparable to a celestial being. Only experts above the 3rd layer of the celestial being can kill him. A man in a green robe said slowly. A crescent moon flowed on his forehead. He paused for a moment and then continued. As far as I know, there is no one above the 3rd layer of the celestial being in Thousand Mountains Prefecture except for Marquis Qianshan. Why are you guessing so much? Just take a look and you'll know. Another woman in a palace dress said coldly. Immediately, a cold light shot out from the silver-haired middle-aged man's eyes. Then, a circle about 10 feet in size appeared in front of everyone. Inside the circle, then, a scene appeared. If Qin Shujian was here, he would be able to see the content of the picture. It was the picture of the Black Abyss Envoy just before he died. What a domineering flame! It can even burn the body of a half-step celestial being. This flame is even more powerful than the heaven and earth spirit fire. It's a master-level array. It seems that the person who did it must be a formation master. There were low voices in the hall. Looking at the flame that burned the Black Abyss Envoy to death, many people's expressions changed slightly. Finally, the picture froze on Qin Shujian's face. Bang! The circle shattered, and all the anomalies disappeared. The emissary of the Black Abyss is a half-step celestial being, and he also has the Nihility Feather Divine ability. It's impossible for an ordinary array grandmaster to trap and kill him. To be able to do this, one has to be at least at the peak of the 1st stage of the grandmaster realm. I heard that there is a formation grandmaster in the human clan. He is the reincarnation of an almighty being. He is only in the spirit martial realm, but he has the means of a formation grandmaster. I think it must be him. His strength is in the spirit martial realm, which means that the memory of his previous life has not fully recovered. In this case, he can still have the means of the peak of the first level of the supreme power realm. When he was at his peak in his previous life, he was at least at the second level of the supreme power realm. If this person grows up, he will be a threat. I suggest that we kill him. That person hasn't died yet. It wouldn't be appropriate for us to make a move. To deal with a master of the spirit martial realm, we don't need to do it ourselves. Sending the heavenly demon guards is enough. In the main hall, people were discussing with each other. In the end, the silver-haired middle-aged man said indifferently, "The Black Abyss emissary is a member of the Heavenly Eagle clan. Then let the heavenly demon guards of the Heavenly Eagle clan do it." All right. After a short discussion, the matter was settled. A cultivator of the spirit martial realm was nothing to the demon clan. Even if it was an expert of the first level of the supreme power realm, it was the same. However, if it was a mighty figure of the second level of the supreme power realm, then it was worth paying attention to. An almighty. It was an existence above the seventh level of the celestial being realm. Although the strength of the second level of the supreme power realm was not as strong as that of a mighty figure, it was not far away. With the combination of the two, his strength was definitely not to be underestimated. Everyone understood that if such an expert could grow up, it would not be good news for the demon clan. If it were not for the existence of the human emperor, they would have already taken action personally and erased the other party. But the human emperor came. If the demon clan wanted to make a move, they could not be too unscrupulous. The Heavenly Demon Guards was an organization of the demon clan that traveled in the Great Zhao. They were all experts of the demon clan, but they were extremely good at concealment and assassination. In the current situation, using the Heavenly Demon Guards was the most reasonable thing to do. On the other side, the death of one of the 12 underworld envoys and the loss of hundreds of thousands of troops also made Marquis Qianshan furious. "I have underestimated the strength of Taishan City and caused heavy losses to our army. I hope that Marquis will punish me." Guotong knelt on one knee on the ground, his head bowed deeply, and begged for forgiveness. Marquis Qianshan looked at him coldly and said indifferently, "Do you think that your life alone can compare to the lives of hundreds of thousands of troops? I know my mistake." "Humph." Marquis Qianshan snorted heavily and said coldly, "If it were not for the lack of generals in the army, I would have killed you today. Now, go and receive 300 lashes as punishment. After this battle, there will be another punishment." "Thank you for your mercy, Marquis. I am willing to accept the punishment." Hearing this, Guotong was greatly relieved. Although the punishment of 300 lashes was heavy, but Marquis Qianshan's punishment today was equivalent to sparing his life. In comparison, 300 lashes was better than losing his life. "Guards, here." Several guards came in from outside and bowed. Marquis Qianshan pointed at the kneeling Guotong and said coldly, "Take him away and give him 300 lashes." Yes. As soon as he finished speaking, several guards lifted Guotong up and took him away. Then, Marquis Qianshan's gaze fell on Bu Tianhua and said, "Now that our army has suffered heavy losses, the imperial court is already prepared. In your opinion, what should our army do next?" Hearing this, Bu Tianhua did not immediately reply. Instead, he fell into deep thought. After a while, he opened his mouth and said, "This sneak attack failed and our army has suffered heavy losses. However, the imperial court has also suffered heavy losses. It can barely be considered a draw. But now that the defenses of the few cities at the front line have weakened, their defensive power is insufficient. Moreover, with our current strength, it is not good for the front line to be too long. It is better to let them have the cities at the front line. Our army will retreat, accumulate strength, and officially fight again." While speaking, Bu Tianhua's expression did not look too good. This sneak attack was his suggestion. In the end, they suffered heavy losses. More importantly, one of the 12 underworld envoys had fallen. Compared to the hundreds of thousands of casualties, The fall of one of the 12 underworld envoys made his heart ache. However, fortunately, it was the Black Abyss envoys who had fallen. If it was Qingming envoys who had fallen, then things would be even more troublesome. Hearing this, Marquis Qinshan replied, "If we start an all-out war with the imperial court, our chances of winning are less than 40%. 40% is still a chance of winning. Besides, we will not fight them head-on. The two grandmasters have already set up enough formations and are just waiting for them to walk into the trap." How do you think the two grandmasters are compared to Qin Shujian and Ming Jingshan? Enough to deal with. Fine, then let them have it. Facing Bu Tianhua's confidence, Marquis Qinshan did not refute and directly ordered. On the other side, following Marquis Qinshan's order, the defenders of Yongfeng City and several other frontline cities withdrew, and the spies planted in the city. They also sent the news of the enemy's retreat back to the imperial court. Whether it was Yin Saijia and the others or Wu Tai, after receiving the news of the enemy's retreat, they immediately sent out troops and took down these cities effortlessly, further reducing the rebels' sphere of influence. Thousand Mountains Prefecture was very big. But correspondingly, there were not many places that were truly important. Now, more than half of the prefecture was under the control of the imperial court. Gu Chongqing only had 1/3 of the entire Thousand Mountains Prefecture in his hands. At this moment, facing the confrontation between the imperial court and Gu Chongqing, no one in the cultivation world in Thousand Mountains Prefecture dared to interfere. They all had a wait-and-see attitude. For them, no matter which side won, it would not affect the cultivation world. On the contrary, if they rashly interfered and made the wrong choice, the consequences would be unimaginable. After all, the cultivation world's sects and forces were in front. They could not fight against an army alone. After the front line was pushed forward, the army that was originally separated gathered together. With Yin Saijia as the commander-in-chief, tens of millions of troops marched forward in a grandiose manner. Any city they passed by along the way, almost all the guards inside fled at the sight of them. After all, in the face of such a large army, the hundreds of thousands of guards in a city were not qualified to fight at all. In just half a month, Marquis Qinshan's sphere of influence was once again reduced to an extremely low position, occupying only 1/5 of the huge Thousand Mountains Prefecture. Until now, everyone finally understood how powerful the imperial court was. Once the army was mobilized, it swept across all directions, and the rebels' enemy forces fled in disorder. Dingxiang City. This was a city that was not much smaller than Yongchang City. It was also an important city in Thousand Mountains Prefecture. 3 days ago, this city was in Gu Chongqing's hands. 3 days later, it was replaced with the imperial court's flag. In the governor's mansion, many generals gathered together. Qin Shujian and Ming Jingshan were also among them. In front of everyone, there was a huge sand table with red and black flags on it. Red represented the imperial court. Black represented the rebels. From the sand table, one could see that the black flag was already surrounded by the red flag, leaving only a small space. However, a small area on the sand table was not a small area in the real world. Yin Saijia said in a deep voice, "Now, Thousand Mountains Prefecture is almost fully recovered. However, as more and more cities have been recovered, our forces have been scattered. Now, the number of soldiers we recruit from each city is still lacking. The more territories they recovered, they also needed a lot of forces to maintain order. After all, the enemy forces had retreated directly. There were no captives." Kuyuqing said, "Gu Chongqing has no way out now. If our army continues to advance, it will be time for the final battle." Chapter 333. Yes, there was no way out. At this point, the rebels were surrounded by enemies from both front and back. The imperial army had surrounded them, and there was no way out for them. Once there was no way out, they could either surrender or fight with their backs to the wall. However, rebellion was a capital offense. Gu Chongqing had no other choice but to fight with his back to the wall. At this moment, a guard came in and knelt down on one knee. "Greetings, my lords." "What happened?" "My lord, the rebels have sent a letter of challenge." "Bring it to me." "Yes." The guard stepped forward and respectfully handed over the letter in his hand. Yin Saija signaled with his eyes. A general took the letter and waved his hand. "You may leave." "I'll take my leave." The guard left respectfully. Then, the general opened the letter and read the contents. Then, he passed it to Yin Saija. He took it. Yin Saija read the contents of the letter and frowned. Then, he sneered. "Gu Chongqing is bold. He dares to send us a letter of challenge at a time like this." After reading it, he passed the letter down. When it landed in Qin Shujian's hands, he read the contents of the letter clearly. There was not much content. It could be summarized in one sentence. The final battle would take place in half a month at the Shang River. The Shang River mentioned in the letter. Qin Shujian knew a little about it. It was a vast plain. There were only 2 rivers on both sides. It was rumored that the river was a huge river that connected the entire Thousand Mountains prefecture. Wu Tai said in a low voice, "Gu Chongqing sent the letter of challenge. He should know that they have no way out now. This is their final struggle. But I have a question. Up until now, the demon race hasn't made much of a move. Could there be any hidden moves?" Kuyuqing said with a serious expression. Now, everything was progressing too smoothly. It was so smooth that the rebels did not even have a trace of resistance. As for the demon clan experts behind them, they had caused a lot of trouble in the beginning. Until now, they had not done much. Hearing this, Wu Tai sneered and said, "Now that the human sovereign is still here, how dare the demon clan interfere? Things have already come to this point. Even if Gu Chongqing has a backup plan, what can it do?" These words made many people secretly nod their heads. The current situation was clear. With the imperial court's army closing in, the rebels did not have much room to maneuver. Even if he didn't accept the challenge, in just a few days, the army would also be aiming for the enemy's lifeline. Wu Tai turned to Yin Saija and asked, "Master Yin, do you think we should accept Gu Chongqing's challenge?" "Why not?" Yin Saija shook his head and smiled. "If Gu Chongqing dares to issue a challenge, then I, Yin Saija, will accept it. We can use this opportunity to stabilize all the cities we have. Then, we can gather our forces at Shang River and crush them." In his opinion, it was great that Gu Chongqing was willing to issue a challenge. When that time comes, everything was out in the open. Both sides had a head-on contest. Or else, if the other side avoided the battle and chose to break through from the side, it would cause quite a lot of trouble. But with Gu Chongqing's status, he obviously did not want to avoid the battle. In that case, Yin Saija would give him the opportunity to fight fair and square. Gu Chongqing would accept his defeat wholeheartedly. Of course, the main reason was, it was because the imperial court had taken down most of the rebel cities in a short period of time. There were not many guards left in these cities. This caused the people's hearts to waver. The rear was gradually becoming unstable. This required some time to stabilize the rear. Therefore, Yin Saija agreed to Gu Chongqing's challenge. And as the main general of the army, since he had agreed to the rebels' challenge, the others did not raise any objections. Soon, a reply letter was sent directly to Marquis Qianshan's hands. This was going to happen. It was settled. At the same time, the news of the battle between the 2 armies at Shang River spread through some unknown method. It spread further and further. It seemed to be spreading all over the world. On the other side, Qin Shujian was in his new residence. He had entered a state of cultivation. For half a month, as the army went to war, although Gu Chongqing's forces rarely resisted and had mostly retreated, it did not mean that there were no confrontations at all. And every time there was a battle, he had killed many enemies with his formation. Naturally, he had obtained a lot of life force. Until now, his life force had reached more than 30 million. But even though his life force had reached 30 million, the Guiyuan Ancestral Classic still did not have a plus sign that could be upgraded. This also meant that, if he wanted to upgrade the Guiyuan Ancestral Classic to the next level, he would need at least 40 million life force. This was not good news for Qin Shujian. Excluding the Guiyuan Ancestral Classic, the other 6 divine level techniques that had reached the spiritual martial arts section all had a plus sign that could be upgraded. But however, Qin Shujian did not pour his life force into these cultivation methods, because there was no need for that. Based on the situation of upgrading the Guiyuan Ancestral Classic, even if he used all 30 million life force on one technique, it would at most be upgraded to the 7th or 8th level of the spiritual martial arts section. Based on his current spiritual god strength, when a technique reached this level, it would not be able to provide much of an increase. Unless it was before he swallowed the Black Abyss, it would still be of some use. But after he swallowed the Black Abyss, his spiritual god had broken through to 300 feet and had already undergone a transformation. So, Qin Shujian had a premonition. Even if he used a technique, it would not be of much help. Towards this kind of sixth sense, he firmly believed it. Since that was the case, it was better to keep his life force and think of a way to deduce the 9th level of the Guiyuan Ancestral Classics Spiritual Martial Arts section. When the time came and he cultivated to the next level, the increase would undoubtedly be more. More importantly, the remaining 6 techniques were all of the divine level. They were all leading to the divine martial arts. In other words, under the premise that there was no life force to upgrade, he could still slowly upgrade through his own cultivation. Other things aside, in terms of his own cultivation talent, Qin Shujian was quite confident. Even if he was not in the range of the Liang Mountain Spirit Domain and did not receive the blessing of the Domain Master title, his cultivation speed was not slow at all. This also proved from another point of view. Even if he did not have the life force as a means to increase his strength, he was still a proper genius. At this moment, Qin Shujian's divine sense suddenly moved. Immediately, the 4th-rank Golden Lotus floated above his head and a golden shield covered his entire body. At the same time, the white blade cut through the secret room and directly bombarded the golden shield. Boom! The shield shattered. The remaining power of the blade did not stop as it slashed towards Qin Shujian. However, after encountering the Golden Lotus, the sword blade had been weakened a lot. When it was close to him, the dustless immortal robe immediately showed its effect. Another layer of chi barrier was propped up, blocking the sword blade. Things happened too quickly. The moment the blade shattered, Qin Shujian opened his eyes. In the next moment, he saw a person wearing a silver mask charging towards him, a Dao seal looming on his long sword. A fatal threat emerged in his heart. Without the slightest hesitation, the moment Qin Shujian's body moved, a large formation descended with a wave of his hand and covered the silver-masked person. However, in less than 2 seconds, the formation shattered. The silver-masked person rushed out of the formation and shortened the distance between the two in 1 step. The tip of his sword was pointed directly at Qin Shujian. At this moment, Su Mingyang, who had been guarding the mansion, also sensed the movement. With a roar, a terrifying divine sense erupted and bombarded the silver-masked person. Shun Wu's divine sense erupted. The power was enough to shake heaven and earth. The silver-masked person obviously knew how powerful it was, so before the sword touched Qin Shujian, his body had already fled in the opposite direction. In less than half a breath, he had already disappeared into the night sky. Everything happened too quickly, and also too quickly. By the time Su Mingyang had rushed over, only Qin Shujian was left standing there. As for the secret room where he had been cultivating, it was now completely shattered. Sect Master Qin, are you okay? I'm fine. Qin Shujian shook his head slightly, but his face was a little cold. In the short exchange just now, he understood how terrifying the other party's strength was. To be able to break the defense of a 4th-grade Golden Lotus with 1 blow, and even break the formation he had set up in an instant. Such strength. Even the half-step celestial being envoy of the Black Abyss was a little weaker before he used his trump card. In this way, the silver-masked person was at least a half-step celestial being. As for whether he was an expert of the celestial being realm, Qin Shujian was not completely sure. After all, the other party retreated because of Su Mingyang's appearance. It was hard to say whether it was because he was afraid of Su Mingyang, or because he was afraid of being entangled by the other party. He was a formation grandmaster and other experts in Dingxiang City. At this moment, Su Mingyang's face did not look too good. He said coldly, "The other party dared to assassinate. No doubt he is an expert of the Demon Clan. Even with Sect Master Qin's skills as a formation grandmaster, you can't stop him. His strength is not simple." He is at least a half-step celestial being. It seems that Gu Chongqing issued the letter of challenge in advance to let us temporarily relax our vigilance and then send someone to assassinate us. Su Mingyang thought about it and roughly guessed the other party's plan. On the surface, he issued the letter of challenge to calm the people. Then he sent someone to assassinate Qin Shujian. The purpose was to make the imperial court one less formation grandmaster before the war began. When the day of the war began, they would have a lot of advantages. It was also at this moment, the huge movement just now had attracted the attention of the people in the mansion and Dingxiang City. Then, they all rushed over. Chapter 334. When the others rushed over, the matter had been resolved. After casually saying a few words, Yin Saija sent 2 God Martial Realm cultivators to guard the mansion. At this juncture, he couldn't allow anything to happen to Qin Shujian. If they lost an Array Dao Grandmaster, then things would be troublesome. He did not forget. The 2 Array Masters under Gu Chongqing had not really made a move yet. Ming Jingshan alone, they could not deal with it. On the other side, Qin Shujian was much more cautious now. Long before, he knew that the Demon Clan would attack, but as time passed, the Demon Clan did not make a move. His vigilant heart slowly relaxed. Until now, this assassination made Qin Shujian even more cautious. One had to know that the other party was able to break into the mansion at any time, and even Su Mingyang was not aware of it at all. This kind of method was simply impossible to guard against. If it were not for the protection of the 2 Dao artifacts, the other party might have succeeded. At the same time, Qin Shujian rejoiced that he had the self-awareness to refine the dustless immortal robe first. With the appearance of the first round of assassination, the entire Dingxiang city was under martial law. Not only that, even the place where Ming Jingshan was increased by many guards. Although Ming Jingshan's strength was unfathomable, he still had to be prepared. The other party had the Ming clan behind him. If something happened, it would be difficult to explain. Just as Qin Shujian was silently cultivating, suddenly, a piece of news spread from Zhengzhou Prefecture. Then, in a short period of time, it swept across the entire world like a storm. At the same time, he also received a system notification. Attention! Ji Qian year 6785, 27th of the Yang month, the human emperor passed away. When he saw the blood-red words in his mind, Qin Shujian almost thought that he had seen wrongly. However, the words on it did not disappear. In an instant, he immediately withdrew from his cultivation state, and his face was full of shock. The human emperor passed away. How could the human emperor pass away at this time? Looking at the system prompt, Qin Shujian's heart was truly shaken. He was very clear. What did the death of the human emperor mean? The reason that the great Zhao had established the world and suppressed the world was because of the existence of the human emperor. As to whether there were capable people among the heirs of the imperial house, they were far from being able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the human emperor. For a moment, Qin Shujian's thoughts were in a mess, but he was sure of one thing. Once the news of the human emperor's death spread, even if the great Zhao did not fall apart, it would still be unstable. Previously, there had been rumors that the human emperor was nearing the end of his lifespan. However, the human emperor was still on the throne. Under such circumstances, even though the various parties had other ideas, they did not dare to act rashly. In the 13 prefectures, only Thousand Mountains Prefecture, backed by the Demon Clan, would dare to show up at this time. But even so, the Demon Clan that supported Gu Chongqing had always been cautious and did not dare to be too presumptuous. The human emperor had passed away. Then the situation that had been maintained before would no longer exist. Before Qin Shujian could think for a long time, he raised his head and looked outside. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Su Mingyang's voice came from outside. "Sect Master Qin, I have something important to see you about." Something important? Qin Shujian could not help but connect the system prompt with what the other party wanted to say. Could it be the news of the human emperor's death? It had already spread. While thinking, Qin Shujian directly stood up and opened the door. When he saw the anxious Su Mingyang, he immediately asked, "What happened? Why is Master Su so anxious?" The human emperor has passed away. Su Mingyang's expression was extremely ugly as he said each word clearly. What? Qin Shujian was shocked as if he had just received the news. He had already known. There were some things that only he could receive the system prompt. Then the news of the human emperor's death. He should not have known in advance. However, what really shocked Qin Shujian was, how long had he received the system's news? Now Su Mingyang had also received the news of the human emperor's death. If the other party did not have a system notification, then there must be some kind of extremely powerful communication method. Seeing Qin Shujian's shocked expression, Su Mingyang did not care. In his opinion, no matter who received the news of the human emperor's death, they would not be able to remain calm. Su Mingyang's expression was ugly as he said, the news of the human emperor's death came from the Central State Prefecture, the Imperial Astronomer. This news can't be wrong. What's Lord Yan's plan? Now that the news of the human emperor's death has spread, I'm afraid that the people of the various prefectures are already in turmoil. Things are not good. At this point, Su Mingyang looked at Qin Shujian and said solemnly, Sect Master Qin, now that the human emperor has passed away, I'm afraid the demon clan will no longer have any scruples. If the Thousand Mountains Prefecture was originally safe, it is no longer safe now. Hearing this, Qin Shujian also understood in his heart. If the demon clan still had scruples in the previous assassination, then the human emperor's death, the experts of the demon race would no longer have the slightest scruple. He could block the assassination of a half-step celestial being. Then what about the assassination of a celestial being? With his current means, he could at most compare with a great cultivator who had just entered the celestial being realm. If he faced an expert of the same level as Marquis Baiyun, he would be no match for him at all. Thinking of this, Qin Shujian asked, Is there any news from Marquis Baiyun's side? Not yet. Okay. The two of them were speechless for a moment. It was also at this moment that a guard came from afar, looked at the two of them, and bowed respectfully. Grandmaster Qin, Master Su, Lord Yin invites you to the City Lord Mansion. Okay. The two of them looked at each other and immediately rushed to the City Lord Mansion. Yin Saija sent someone over at this time. What exactly was it for? The two of them were well aware of it. Walking in Dingxiang City, there was not much change. After all, the news of the human emperor's death had only been spread among the upper class and had not been transmitted to the common people. However, Qin Shujian could see that the expressions of many players in Dingxiang City were not quite right. Coupled with the other party's identity, he could basically confirm that the players should have received a similar notification from the system. In this case, the moment the human emperor passed away, it should have already spread throughout the entire Great Zhao. At this moment, the common people at the bottom did not know, but he believed that it would not be long before the players spread the news by word of mouth. Everyone in the world would know the news of the human emperor's death. When that time came, that would be the truly troublesome thing. In the City Lord Mansion, the invisible solemn atmosphere made the people who entered feel depressed. The guards and servants who came and went did not dare to make the slightest mistake. When he stepped into the City Lord Mansion, Qin Shujian also felt a sense of depression in his heart, but it was quickly dispelled by the divine thought in his body. It seems that Yin Saija did not expect the human emperor's death. A celestial being expert. With a thought, he could cause the weather to change. In this expedition against Gu Chongqing, Yin Saija was the only celestial being expert on the surface. Now the changes in the City Lord Mansion, Qin Shujian did not need to think carefully to know that it was caused by Yin Saija. Fortunately, after the spiritual god broke through 300 feet, and with the special characteristics of God's will, such changes could not shake his mind. That's right. With the God's will, Qin Shujian now had some research. This special characteristic, it should be used in the spiritual god. It made it difficult for his spiritual god to be shaken by other people's divine thought. However, the specific function had yet to be developed, and he still did not fully know. As for Su Mingyang, he was completely unaffected. Although he was not a celestial being expert, he had reached the peak of the divine martial arts realm. Such emotional changes could not affect such an expert. After the two of them entered the City Lord Mansion then, he walked into the main hall with ease. At this moment, except for Yin Saija, all the generals who went on the expedition against Gu Chongqing were gathered here, including Ming Jingshan, the array master, who had also arrived first. As for the arrival of Qin Shujian and Su Mingyang, Yin Saija also glanced at them and said, "There's no need for formalities. Take a seat." To this, Qin Shujian and Su Mingyang cupped their hands slightly and then found a seat to sit down. When the two of them sat down, the scene fell into silence. Then, Yin Saija stood up from the main seat and his eyes slowly swept across everyone's faces. There was no change in his emotions and his tone. "I believe everyone should be very clear about the news of the human emperor's death." As soon as he finished speaking, Ming Jingshan cupped his hands and said, "Lord Yin, although the human emperor's lifespan was approaching its end, why did he die so quickly? There was no ominous news before this." "That's right. The human emperor has always been in good health in recent years. Why did he suddenly die?" When Ming Jingshan opened his mouth, the other generals immediately voiced their doubts. Although the human emperor's lifespan was approaching its end, his body was still strong and healthy. There had never been any news of the human emperor being unwell before. The sudden death of the human emperor, it really caught everyone off guard. Hearing this, Yin Saija's expression was heavy as he said, "I heard that the human emperor went into seclusion this time to break through to a higher level. In the end, he failed and his lifespan was directly exhausted. He vomited blood and died on the spot." This news came from the imperial astronomer. It can't be false. The imperial astronomer. It was supported by the human emperor and was also the eyes and ears of the human emperor. The news that spread here, it couldn't be false. Moreover, Yin Saija also had factions behind him. The news that they sent was the same as the news that the imperial astronomer sent to the world. They all said that the human emperor had died. Speaking of this, his expression was heavy as he paused and continued, "Now that the human emperor has died, the crown prince has yet to be appointed. When the time comes, many princes will fight for the throne, and there will be a storm of blood in the imperial city. More importantly, now that the human emperor has died, the great Zhao will be in a precarious situation." Chapter 335. The human emperor had passed away. The shock it caused was definitely not as simple as the ascension of a prince. The great Zhao dynasty was stable. It was because of the existence of the human emperor. Now that the human emperor had passed away, Yin Saija did not dare to imagine what would happen to the great Zhao 13 prefectures, even if they were torn apart. It was also within his expectations. When the human emperor was alive, only Gu Chongqing had the support of the demon race and dared to rebel. As for the others, even if they wanted to rebel, they did not dare to act rashly. But now, the human emperor had passed away. It was not certain if the other prefectures were still loyal to the imperial court. Also, Yin Saija was not even sure if everyone in the faction he was in was loyal to the great Zhao dynasty. Everything. It was all because of the human emperor's death. Kuyuqing asked in a low voice, "Are we still going to war with Gu Chongqing?" If it was before the human emperor passed away, he would not ask such a question. But now, he had to ask. If they fought with Gu Chongqing now, no matter the outcome, it was inevitable that they would suffer losses. But looking at the current situation, if the army suffered too many losses, it would not be a good thing. After he finished speaking, many people's expressions changed slightly. They had different thoughts in their minds. Yin Saija looked around and said coldly, "Although His Majesty has passed away, we are still the subjects of the great Zhao dynasty. When the prince ascends the throne, the great Zhao dynasty will still be the rightful ruler. Let me advise you all, there are some things that you should consider clearly. For so many years, the outside world has been saying that his lifespan is near. With His Majesty's methods, he will not leave no room for maneuver." Hearing this, someone was shocked and immediately said with a smile, "Lord Yin, you are too serious. We are loyal to the imperial court." "That would be best." Yin Saija looked at him indifferently, then returned to the main seat and sat down. He said, "Now that the imperial court has not ordered us to withdraw, we will not stop the rebellion. There are still 10 days before the declaration of war with Gu Chongqing. Let's just focus on our preparations." After 10 days, we will take down the rebels and conquer the Thousand Mountains Prefecture. Then we can return to the imperial court. In the main hall, only Yin Saija's voice resounded. At this moment, no matter who it was, they all had solemn expressions and agreed with the other party's words. In the end, Yin Saija looked at Qin Shujian and said, Grandmaster Qin, you still need to be careful during this period of time. His Majesty has passed away, and the demon clan may make a big move. In the future, it is very likely that they will send celestial beings to assassinate you. If the mansion is not safe enough, you can move to the City Lord's mansion. Thank you for your good intentions, Lord Yin. I have already laid down an array formation in my mansion. Even if a heavenly human great cultivator were to come, they wouldn't be able to do anything to me. That's good. Yin Saija nodded slightly. He agreed with Qin Shujian's confidence in his heart. It was a Grandmaster-level array. Even he didn't have 100% confidence that he could break it. After all, the person in front of him wasn't just an ordinary formation master. Yin Saija also knew that the other party had used a formation to heavily injure an evil spirit in the new territory of the Liang Mountain Spirit Domain. If one were to talk about array Dao techniques, even Mingjingshan might not be able to compare with Qin Shujian. Then, the meeting ended. Qin Shujian then returned to his mansion. It was just like what he said before. Ever since he was ambushed last time, he had set up a defensive array formation in his mansion. It was enough to face a heavenly human great cultivator. However, Qin Shujian felt that the array formation wasn't very stable, so he strengthened it again on top of the original foundation. Only then did he stop. On the other side, the news of the human emperor's death had also spread to Marquis Qianshan. Gu Chongqing had been developing for so many years. Not only had he built Qianshan Mansion like an iron bucket, but he also had eyes and ears in the imperial court. Of course, these things were very secretive. Other than himself, no one else knew that there were traitors in the imperial court. Marquis, the heavens are helping us this time. With the human emperor's death, the great Zhao dynasty will definitely fall apart. Our chance has finally come. After Bu Tianhua received the news, a victorious smile appeared on his face. This news, it came at the right time. Even he didn't expect it. The human emperor would die at this juncture. Hearing this, Gu Chongqing smiled faintly and said, with the human emperor's death, it won't be long before the world falls into chaos. Whether Yin Saija's army can last until the day of the final battle is still a question. What do you mean, Marquis? Although the human emperor has died, the great Zhao dynasty's thousands of years of power is still there. This power is enough to wipe out any feudal lord. If others want to rebel, the fact that we haven't been wiped out by Yin Saija is the biggest advantage in their eyes. Gu Chongqing smiled and said. Hearing this, Bu Tianhua also understood in his heart. The great Zhao dynasty was too powerful. The human emperor had died. But the great Zhao dynasty's thousands of years of power was still there. Looking at the current situation, whoever dared to rebel would definitely be killed by the great Zhao dynasty. At that time, no matter which side acted, they might not be able to withstand the great Zhao dynasty's attack. In this way, Gu Chongqing's side couldn't be wiped out. As long as the traitors in Qianshan Mansion weren't wiped out, the great Zhao dynasty would have to divert some power to suppress the chaos in Qianshan Mansion. In this situation, if the great Zhao dynasty's power was dispersed, the pressure on the others would be much less. In this way, if someone wanted to fight for the throne, they would definitely be the first to mobilize troops before the final battle with Yin Saija to relieve the pressure on Qianshan Mansion. Moreover, Bu Tianhua suspected that it wasn't just one side who would do this. When that time came, the great Zhao dynasty would definitely be in a dangerous situation. As the main general, Yin Saija would definitely send troops back to help. When that time came, the crisis in Qianshan Mansion would be resolved. Thinking of this, Bu Tianhua looked at Gu Chongqing with a slightly more serious gaze. He hadn't thought of these things at that moment, but the other party had thought so far ahead in an instant. The Marquis of Qianshan's methods. It was more terrifying than he had expected. Ignoring Bu Tianhua's inner thoughts, Gu Chongqing ordered, in the next few days, we will rest and recuperate. As long as Yin Saija doesn't send troops to fight, we don't need to care too much. After a few days, the threat of the great Zhao dynasty will be resolved. Then, it will be time for us to reclaim Qinshan Mansion. We obey. All the generals cupped their hands and accepted the order. Everyone's face was filled with joy. They also understood in their hearts. This time, the human emperor's death was their chance. If they could successfully help Gu Chongqing take the throne, then they would be meritorious officials who would rise to the throne. In the future, they would enjoy endless glory and wealth. In the endless mountains, the human emperor has died. In the main hall, the 12 people's faces were filled with shock. Obviously, this news came as a surprise to them. The silver-haired, middle-aged man opened his eyes and looked at a man in yellow robes. He said in a low voice, "Zhe Saint, you are proficient in divination. Is the news of the human emperor's death a lie?" Zhe Saint Huangshan closed his eyes and said faintly, "I will know after a divination." Hearing this, the main hall suddenly quieted down. 15 minutes later, Zhe Saint opened his eyes again and looked at the silver-haired, middle-aged man. He said, "The heavenly secrets are in chaos. The murderous intent has been born. There is no aura in the great Zhao dynasty that suppressed everything. The human emperor should have died." The human emperor had died. Receiving Zhe Shang's affirmative answer, everyone felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted off their shoulders. If the news was false, then Zhe Saint's divination would not be wrong. The heavenly Zhe clan. They were good at divination. Zhe Saint was the most powerful person in the heavenly Zhe clan. His cultivation had reached the level of heaven and earth. Before this, there was nothing in the world that he could not divine except for the human emperor. But now that the human emperor had died, the only restriction was gone. The human emperor has died. The humans have ruled the world for more than 6,700 years. The demon clan has also lived in the endless mountains for more than 6,700 years. Since the demon emperor died, the demon clan has been dormant and suffered humiliation. It has been more than 6,000 years. After more than 6,700 years, the demon clan finally has the chance. Since Shi Yingtian is dead, the humans have ruled the world for more than 6,700 years. It is time for the demon clan to rule the world again. In the 12th seat, the green-robed man looked up and laughed. His voice was like thunder that reverberated in the main hall and shook the void violently. His laughter spread through the main hall and stirred up the wind and clouds, making all the beasts submit. The human emperor was dead. That was the demon clan's world. Without the human emperor, the rest of the powerful people could not compete with the demon clan. However, if the demon race were to raise their troops now, I'm afraid that the human race would unite against them. Although Shi Yingtian is no longer around, the human race's strength cannot be underestimated. Although we are not afraid, if we were to start an all-out war, our losses would not be small. Zhe Saint shook his head. Although the threat of the human emperor was gone, the humans had accumulated many powerful people over the years, not to mention other things. Just the great Zhao 13 prefectures alone were not easy to deal with. Although Marquis Qinshan Gu Chongqing had sided with the demon clan, there were still the other 12 prefectures. Not to mention, there were many powerful people hidden in the Shi clan. Hearing this, the smile on the green-robed man's face faded and he nodded slightly. That's right. The humans are good at internal strife. With Shi Yingtian dead, the humans will be torn apart. When they are almost done fighting, it will be the demon clan's time to clean up the mess. Speaking of this, he paused and then said, although we don't have to do anything, we have stayed in the endless mountain range for long enough. I'm afraid some of the demon clan are already impatient and are heading towards the great Zhao territory. So be it. Since the demon clan is impatient, let them test the waters first and test the depth of the great Zhao territory. In this regard, Zhe Saint's expression was normal. Although the demon clan was different from the humans and would often have internal strife, they were not a monolithic block. There were many demon clans that did not listen to the orders of the heavenly demon temple. So, if the demon clan wanted to occupy the resources of the great Zhao territory, let them be. He could take this opportunity to see the reaction of the great Zhao territory. Chapter 336. Just as the demon race was making plans, It was just as Qin Shujian had thought. Since the death of the human emperor, all the players in the world had received the system's notification. But the difference was, the information that the players received was a little different from what Qin Shujian received. Attention! Year 6785, 27th of the Yang month, the human emperor passed away. The era of great battles has begun. Duke mode activated. After conquering a city, the player will officially become a duke and have the capital to fight for the world. After receiving this news, all the players were excited. Duke mode. Fight for the world. This was equivalent to saying that the players could also be the emperor. As long as they conquered a city, they could recruit troops and buy horses and fight for the world with the NPCs of this game world. If they could succeed, then the hundreds of millions of miles of territory of Dazhao would be their territory. Even become the new human emperor. In this way, whoever could become the human emperor would definitely be the true number one in the world. No one among the players would be able to compete with them. Now the realm of the game could affect the real world. Whoever could become the human emperor. It was equivalent to sitting still. Their experience and realm could soar every moment. When that time comes, they might also be the strongest in the world in the real world. When that time comes, shattering the void and ascending in broad daylight would no longer be an illusion. Even immortality was not impossible. So, don't think that the fall of the human emperor was as simple as activating the Duke mode in the game. If this was used properly, the benefits would make everyone go crazy. However, after a short period of madness, most of the players calmed down again. If they wanted to become a duke, they had to at least conquer a city. However, no matter the size of the city, there would be a large number of guards inside, not to mention many terrifying experts. They were equivalent to bosses that were difficult to conquer at this stage. Judging from the situation where most of the top players were in the physical invulnerability realm, if they wanted to conquer a city, it was definitely not an easy task. In a city, several players were having a private conversation in a restaurant room. The person in the lead, it was Wang Renbin. The Wang clan was a considerable clan in reality. With the recovery of spirit qi and the birth of powerful cultivators, the Wang clan's strength did not decline at all. Instead, they took the opportunity to rise to the top and become a world with a pivotal position in the cultivation world. Long before the spirit qi completely recovered, the Wang family was already secretly researching the martial arts in the game world. He had even nurtured many people to cultivate in secret. Therefore, when the spirit qi completely recovered, many powerhouses had already been born. Because of this, only then did the players establish their current status. Now that the Runhuang had fallen and the dukedom mode had been activated, the Wang family immediately discovered the opportunity to take advantage of it. I believe that with the fall of the human sovereign and the start of the feudal system, other than our Wang clan, the other aristocratic families should be preparing to become feudal lords. Wang Renbin looked at the crowd and said in a deep voice, "If we fall one step behind, we will fall behind all the time. Therefore, our Wang clan must seize the initiative and take down a city first." Hearing this, everyone in the room had different expressions on their faces. One of them thought for a moment and said, "Young Master Wang, with the strength of the players at this stage, no matter how many people there are, it is not an easy thing to take down a city. Even if we forcibly take down a city, we may lose a lot of strength. Isn't it too risky to do so?" They cooperated with the Wang clan. Naturally, they did not want to see the Wang clan lose a lot of strength. Without the support of the Wang clan, it would be difficult for the forces behind them to compete with other aristocratic families. After all, it was still because the forces behind these people were not in the first echelon. They were even a little worse than the second echelon. If they relied on a big aristocratic family, they would not have the capital to compete with others at all. Hearing this, Wang Renbin shook his head and said, "We now have more than 50,000 players under us and have developed dozens of small sections. We have also recruited many NPCs in the game. In terms of numbers, we are not worse than the defenders of some cities. The only difference is in the overall strength." Speaking of this, he paused for a moment and looked at everyone's expressions. Then, he slowly said, "If we attack a city in the spirit realm, we naturally have no chance of winning. Even if it is a city in the true dominion, We will suffer heavy losses if we forcibly take it down. But if we only target the ordinary realm and first take down a city in the ordinary realm as our foundation, then things will be much simpler. Hearing this, the expressions of the people in the room changed. They seemed to understand the Wang clan's plan. Seeing this, Wang Renbin smiled faintly and said, "The city in the ordinary realm is located in a remote area. Now that the human emperor has fallen in the game, the various aristocratic NPCs will definitely be eyeing the territory outside. No one will be interested in the ordinary realm that is remote and has few resources. If we take down the city, the possibility of being attacked by the NPCs will be much lower. Moreover, we will have the qualifications to develop steadily. In this way, we can be considered to have a firm foothold temporarily. It will be much easier for us to improve our strength in the future." Since he had already said so much, everyone understood the Wang clan's determination. Although these words came from Wang Renbin's mouth, he was a direct descendant of the Wang clan. His words represented the Wang clan's intentions. Hearing this, another person nodded and said, "Since young Master Wang has already made a decision, the risk of taking over a city in the ordinary realm is indeed much lower. However, which city does young Master Wang plan to attack?" "Our target is the Thousand Mountains Prefecture." Thousand Mountains Prefecture? That's right. The Imperial Court and Marquis Qianshan are currently at war in the Thousand Mountains Prefecture. The situation in the Thousand Mountains Prefecture is chaotic. It is also the best time for us to take action. The situation in the other prefectures is unclear, so it is not beneficial for us to rashly intervene. On the contrary, everyone's attention in the Thousand Mountains Prefecture is on the Imperial Court and Marquis Qianshan. Our actions will not cause too much of a commotion. Wang Renbin had a confident look on his face as he said with a faint smile, "Besides us, I believe that other people's target should also be the Thousand Mountains Prefecture. Taking advantage of the chaos to take over a city and obtain aristocratic status first. When that time came, they would stabilize their foundation and then plan to go to other places. With the advantage of players all over the world, the Wang clan would not simply be content with a small area. Taking over a city in the Thousand Mountains Prefecture did not mean that they had to establish their foundation in the Thousand Mountains Prefecture. Even if they bloomed everywhere, it would not be a problem. Moreover, in addition to the fact that the cities in the ordinary realm were easy to take down, there was another reason why the Wang clan set their sights on the ordinary realm. It was because there was no teleportation gate in the ordinary realm cities. There was no teleportation gate. This meant that they did not have to worry. As soon as they took over the city, the Imperial Court would teleport a large number of troops into the city and let them kill them in one fell swoop. As the name of Qin Shujian, the Array Grandmaster of the Cold Mountain Stronghold spread, many players wanted to learn the Array Dao. But learning was learning. The Array Dao was not something that could be achieved in a short period of time. With the current situation of the players, there were not many people who had reached the level of a low-grade Array Master, let alone a middle-grade Array Master. However, even if there were high-grade Array Masters or even Array Masters, they were not qualified to touch the teleportation gate. They were not at that level. They could not affect the teleportation gate at all. As for directly setting up the heaven-sealing earth-locking array like Marquis Qianshan and sealing the teleportation gate, that was even more impossible. So, even if the Wang family really had the strength to take down a big city, before they could solve the problem of the teleportation gate, they would not consider taking down a big city. Subsequently, Wang Renbin briefly explained the plan again, and this matter was settled, under the premise that the plan was confirmed. Then the next thing to do was to find a suitable city and then gather the players to take it down in one fell swoop. Although the target this time was only the ordinary realm city. But no matter what, it was also the first city that the Wang family wanted to take down. It would also play a big role in the future. Therefore, the most important thing to take down was which city to take down. It was just as Wang Renbin had said. Just as the Wang family was preparing to take over a city and have the status of a duke, some other aristocratic families in reality were doing the same thing at this moment. Even, some players had already taken action. The players attacked the city. It was not as difficult as imagined. After all, at this stage, the players had completely integrated into the game. In every city, there were many players. Among these people, there were also many who had figured out the situation of the city. Even more, they directly blended into the city lord mansion. Once these people had bad intentions, many people did not expect it. At this moment, there was a rebellion in a city. Actually, it was a rebellion. It was more like an assassination in the city lord mansion. A middle-aged man was surrounded by dozens of players. The intensive attacks were constantly bombarding him. There were already many corpses lying on the ground. They were all the guards of the city lord mansion. Apart from that, even more players stayed outside to fend off the NPC army's attacks. The middle-aged man roared angrily from time to time while being attacked by many players. But unfortunately, with his strength of the 10th stage of the martial arts, under the siege of dozens of people with strength equal to his, there was no chance for him to turn the tables. Not long after, the other party fell under the swords. Seeing this, Cui Yiming immediately stopped and said, "Everyone stop." After saying that, he came in front of the middle-aged man and then bent down to search the corpse. Not long after, he found a token. His face suddenly revealed a carefree smile. "You got the City Lord token of Ganhua City." Seeing the system prompt and the introduction of the City Lord token in his hand, Cui Yiming directly used the token in his hand. Chapter 337. You used the Ganhua City Lord token. You became the Ganhua City Lord. World announcement. Player Cui Yiming captured Ganhua City and became the first player Duke. Reward, Realm +2. This announcement is hereby made. World announcement. Player Cui Yiming captured Ganhua City and became the first player Duke. Reward, Realm +2. This announcement is hereby made. World announcement. Player Cui Yiming captured Ganhua City and became the first player Duke. Reward, Realm +2. This announcement is hereby made. 3 world announcements in a row were directly transmitted into the minds of all players. After a short silence, there was an earth-shattering sound. World announcement. This was a very common thing in other games. But in this game, until now, it was the first time a player had triggered this function. How many players had entered this game? Hundreds of millions, or hundreds of millions, or billions. Many people found it difficult to calculate the exact number of people who had entered this game. The real world was vast. Although the population was not as many as the NPCs in the game, it was definitely not small, especially now that the aura had recovered. Almost everyone knew about the existence of this game. Then, many people who did not play games before also entered this game. In this way, there were even more players in the game. Such a world announcement was equivalent to directly becoming famous among the numerous player groups. Fame. This word sounded simple, but it was something that many people longed to pursue. After knowing that there would be a world announcement when capturing a city and becoming a duke, many people went crazy. There was a world announcement when the first city was captured. No one was sure if there would be one the second time. But what if there was? Then the whole world would know his name. Just a reputation. It was enough to make people go crazy. In an unknown wilderness, a young player was fighting with a beast. The sudden system announcement stunned him for a moment. He could not dodge in time and was killed by the beast. At the resurrection point, the young player looked at the familiar scene around him and wanted to cry. Why is the same name Cui Yiming, but the difference is so big? That's right. He was also called Cui Yiming. When the system announcement was made, he almost thought that the announcement was talking about him. He only reacted when he was resurrected. He was just a poor little player. How could he capture a city and become a duke? For the first time, Cui Yiming felt what it meant to have the same name but different lives. And his name brought him a deep malice. This was something that couldn't be helped. There was no such thing as setting a nickname in the game. You could call yourself whatever you called yourself in real life. There were so many players. It was normal to have people with the same name. Usually, it was fine. But now that there was a world announcement, it was very awkward. Of course, he was not the only one who felt awkward. When the world announcement appeared, many people were stunned on the spot. Then, they received all kinds of messages, asking if they had taken down the city. Damn it! Wang Renbin's face was gloomy. World announcement. He had never expected this. The first person to conquer a city would receive a world announcement. Wang Renbin had forgotten about the existence of world announcements because there had never been any world announcements in the game. If he knew who was the first player to capture a city, he would definitely be shocked. If there was a world announcement, then, no matter what price the Wang clan had to pay, they had to take down a city as soon as possible. After all, for the Wang family, this world announcement was the best opportunity to increase their reputation. It was also the capital to attract other players. But now, someone else had beaten them to it. The first person to conquer a city has a world announcement. The second person to conquer a city has a high probability of getting a world announcement as well. I originally planned to make some preparations, but now I can't care so much. I'll try my best to take down a city first. As for Cui Yiming, I have to find out more about him and find out what his background is. Wang Renbin's expression kept changing. He already had an idea in his heart. However, it was not an easy task to find out Cui Yiming's background. It was still the same sentence. There were too many people with the same name. It would take a lot of effort to investigate and find them one by one. On the other side, after becoming the city lord of Ganhua City, Cui Yiming also received a world announcement. There was a carefree smile on his face. World announcement. The first duke. He knew. From this moment on, Cui Yiming's name would be famous. With this name, it would be very useful to attract other players in the future. Brother Cui, the attack of the guards outside the city lord's mansion is too strong. Our brothers can't hold on any longer. At this moment, a player ran in from outside, looking a little panicked. Immediately, the smile on Cui Yiming's face faded a lot. Then, he looked at the players who were originally besieging the city lord and said, "Everyone, follow me out and meet these guards." After saying that, he took the lead and walked outside. What was different from before was, this time, his steps were a little ostentatious. Even his back was a little straighter. Outside the city lord's mansion, the two sides were fighting. As time passed, a large number of guards in Ganhua City came one after another, surrounding the entire city lord's mansion. Compared to the guards of Ganhua City, there were much fewer people on the player's side. The reason why they were able to hold on until now was entirely because the city lord's mansion was not big. However, the buildings were specially treated. Although the sturdiness was not as good as the city walls, it was still extraordinary. Therefore, after these players occupied the city lord's mansion, they blocked the troops that were more than 10 times their own outside. But looking at the current situation, the longer the time was delayed, the greater the disadvantage of the players. When Cui Yiming stood on a rockery, he immediately saw all the surrounding situations. Instantly, he opened his mouth and said in a clear voice, "The original city lord of Ganhua City has already been executed. I, Cui Yiming, have become the new city lord of Ganhua City. Don't be stubborn. If you surrender now, I will let bygones be bygones." While speaking, Cui Yiming took out his city lord token and directly displayed it in front of everyone. Seeing this, the morale of the guards indeed dropped a little, but there were no signs of surrendering. Seeing this, a faint smile appeared on Cui Yiming's face. Just as he was about to continue speaking, one of the generals attacking the manor of the city lord shouted angrily, "As subjects of the great Zhao, how can we betray the court and side with these traitors? The city lord has always treated us well, but today, he died at the hands of these traitors. If we do not take revenge for him, what face do we have to continue living in this world?" That's right, the city lord has been killed. As subjects of the great Zhao, we definitely cannot surrender to these rebels. Commander Chang is right. If we surrender, the city lord will not be able to rest in peace in the underworld. Kill the rebels and take revenge for the city lord. Take revenge for the city lord. The Ganhua City's defenders, who were originally in low morale, suddenly became excited under the encouragement of the many generals. Their eyes were filled with killing intent as they looked at Cui Yiming, as if they wanted to eat his flesh and bones. Instantly, the attacks of the guards became even fiercer. The players immediately felt a huge pressure. As for Cui Yiming, at this moment, his face was as if he had eaten something. How could it be like this? According to common sense, with the biggest leader being killed, shouldn't the remaining cannon fodder immediately throw down their weapons and surrender? Why? But now it was the complete opposite. At this time, the gates of the city lord's mansion were blasted open. Large amounts of guards crazily rushed in, killing all the players one by one. When Cui Yiming came back to his senses, he found that he was surrounded by hundreds of people. Standing on the fake mountain was very awkward. Without waiting for him to speak, the next moment, large amounts of arrows were aimed at him. Immediately after, Cui Yiming's line of sight was completely occupied by the black arrows. World announcement. Player Cui Yiming was killed by the guards of Ganhua City and lost his status as a duke. I hope that other players will take this as a warning and not repeat the same mistake. Not long after the first world announcement appeared, the players received the second world announcement. Compared to the first announcement that was repeated 3 times in a row, the second world announcement only appeared once. But the difference was, the words of the second world announcement were blood red, as if it was a harbinger of the tragedy and ominous war. As for many players, at this moment, before they could fully recover from the first world announcement, they were severely hit by the second world announcement. Damn, this King destruction is too fast. TSK, the scene of the crash must be extremely tragic and spectacular. It's a pity that I can't see it with my own eyes. I thought that the first Duke of the players would be very powerful. I didn't expect it to come and go so quickly. For a moment, the players were boiling again. But compared to the shock of the first time, this time there was a lot of ridicule. This was also a very normal thing. After all, becoming the first Duke of the players and triggering the world announcement, naturally there were many people who were jealous. Now Cui Yiming had fallen. For many people, this was a joyous matter. However, this also indirectly showed that winning the city and becoming a duke did not mean that one would be safe. At this moment, many players had quietly exited the game and then opened the game forum, looking for the video of Cui Yiming winning Ganhua City this time. They believed, such a big event, there must be players who recorded it. As expected, these players did not need to search for long. This video directly appeared in their line of sight. After watching the video, the other players then understood how the other party won the position of the city lord and how he became the first duke of the players. Originally, many had the same idea. The players who wanted to carry out the decapitation plan to win a city in disguise. At this moment, most people extinguished the thoughts in their hearts. A lesson learned from the mistakes of the past. The troops behind. The tragic lesson, like a textbook case, was still here. Chapter 338. Mount Liang's Spirit Domain. Ever since Qin Shujian won 1,000 Mountains Prefecture, Grand Elder Jing Fong took charge of the overall situation. As Yuan Sec's power grew day by day, there were no problems. In the end, even if Qin Shujian wasn't present, the over 1,000 domain enlightened spirit god realm cultivators in the Origin sect weren't to be trifled with. Not to mention that there were a few airborne realm cultivators and even new illustrious Saint Realm and Divine Martial Realm cultivators holding down the fort. Overall, without taking into account Qin Shujian, the Array Master, Yuan Sec's strength was slightly inferior to those top sects with deep foundations, but it was definitely not much worse. With such strength, no one in the newly ascended spirit realm could fight against him. Especially since Qin Shujian had already killed Yuan Sec's reputation, no one would come to provoke them at this time. However, although Yuan Zong seemed calm, he actually had his own worries. Grand Elder, recently, the number of monsters in the Endless Mountain range seems to be increasing day by day. Do you think the Demon Clan will do something? In the inherited martial hall, Niu Feng looked at Zheng Fong and said with a solemn expression, regarding the Demon Clan, they knew a little about it. Especially now, the news of the human emperor's death had almost spread throughout the entire Yuan sect. After all, Yuan sect was close to the Endless Mountain range. When the human emperor died, Marquis Bei Yun sent someone to inform them to be vigilant of the Demon Clan in the Endless Mountain range. At the same time, he also indirectly spread the news of the human emperor's death. Actually, even if Marquis Bei Yun didn't send the news, with so many players and disciples in Yuan sect, the news of the human emperor's death couldn't be hidden at all. As long as 1 or 2 disciples casually talked about it, this matter would basically be known. Hearing this, Zhang Fong stroked his beard with one hand, and there was a faint light in the depths of his eyes. He said in a deep voice, "In recent days, the number of monsters in the endless mountain range has increased by a lot. If nothing goes wrong, the probability of these monsters attacking the Mount Liang spirit domain is indeed quite high. The number of monsters increased for no reason. There must be the demon clan behind it." On this point, there was no doubt about it. For such a strange movement to occur at such a critical juncture, there were many things that could be guessed without much doubt. Instead of waiting for the beast tide to start, why don't we enter the Skyend mountain range first and kill all these demonic beasts to prevent future trouble? Niu Feng suggested. Previously, all the experts of Yuan's sect had entered the endless mountain range. All the demonic beasts within the Liang mountain spirit domain were wiped clean. This allowed him to see a way to alleviate the beast tide. Zhang Feng didn't reply. Su Yuaming shook his head and said, "The demon clan has a deep foundation. The demon clan is behind the increase in demonic beasts this time. If we enter rashly, we may be ambushed by the demon clan. With our current strength, going against the demon clan is no different from hitting a rock with an egg. In my opinion, it's better to wait and see. If a beast tide really arises, then with our current strength, it won't be a problem to deal with it." With Yuan Zhong's current strength, once they entered the endless mountain range, the slightest carelessness could lead to a complete annihilation. Rather than this, it would be safer to wait for the beast horde to appear before dealing with it. Hearing this, Zhang Feng did not object. Seeing this, Niu Feng suppressed the thoughts in his heart. Within the Skyen mountain range, currently, players still treated this as the most important place to kill monsters and level up. After all, as the players' levels increased, it was difficult for other places to provide enough experience to level up. Only within the Skyen mountain range, no matter how many demonic beasts were killed, there was no end to them. Moreover, they were strong enough and provided enough experience. Naturally, they were loved by the players. However, the Skyen mountain range was not everywhere. This enormous mountain range seemed to encircle the entire Great Zhao capital. Only at the border could one be close to the Skyen mountain range. Other than that, prefectures like the Central State Prefecture, which was at the center of the Great Zhao, were far away from the Skyen mountain range. Boom! The blade slashed down and sent a demonic beast flying. The powerful force directly tore the demonic beast apart. As it flew through the air, fresh blood splattered everywhere. Song Qing took a step closer. Taking advantage of the fact that the monster beast had not completely landed, the long saber in his hand once again slashed out like lightning, beheading the monster beast and completely ending its life. After the demonic beast landed, there was no sign of life at all. He bent down skillfully and then searched the demonic beast's body, but he did not find it. Seeing this, Song Qing could only get up regretfully. Then he focused his attention on his attribute panel. Soon, according to this progress, I should be able to reach the 9th level of the martial realm after killing another 30 physical invulnerability realm monsters. The 9th level of the martial realm. This was definitely the first echelon of players. Until now, there were no spiritual martial realm players on the forum. Of course, it was also possible that some players had reached the spiritual martial realm but kept a low profile and did not expose themselves. But no matter what, even if someone had reached the spiritual martial realm, the number was definitely small. On the contrary, players who could reach the 7th level of the martial realm at this stage belonged to the upper middle level. As for those who could reach the 8th level of the martial realm, or even the 9th level of the martial realm, their strength was definitely in the upper middle level. After reaching the physical invulnerability realm, every level up required a huge amount of experience points. The reason why Song Qing could approach the 9th level of the martial realm so quickly was that he had completed a mission issued by the sect some time ago and killed several airborne realm cultivators by himself. Or else, it was impossible to level up so quickly. As for the news of the human emperor's death, Song Qing did not pay much attention to it. In his opinion, the price to pay to become a duke was too great. Just organizing enough people to attack a city was enough to make many people flinch. Not to mention, after taking down a city, He had to recruit and buy horses to expand his strength. At this step, the money needed to spend was not something an ordinary player could afford. Once the progress was not fast enough, it would be easy to be swallowed up by other players. When that time came, it would be like drawing water with a wicker basket. So, Song Qing was very clear about his own weight. From the beginning, he had no intention of participating in any dukedom competition, unless he had a deep background in reality. Otherwise, he could not do anything at all. Compared to these things, he was more willing to convert all the resources into his own strength. To the extent that he could fight a country alone, any dukedom was a joke. Just like the human emperor who had just died. The reason why the human emperor was the human emperor, not because the other party had made a great declaration and ascended to the throne, but because, even if the other party had not ascended to the throne, he already had the strength to suppress the whole world and finally sat on the throne. The division of primary and secondary. It was two completely different things. The corpses of the monsters on the ground were refreshed. Song Qing continued to explore the endless mountains. With his current strength, unless it was a player of the same level, there was no need to team up. With Song Qing's realm of the 8th level of the true martial realm, coupled with the martial arts and weapons he cultivated, as long as he did not encounter monsters of the spirit martial realm in the endless mountains, there would not be too big of a problem. Even if it was a monster of the 10th level of the true martial realm, he would have the power to fight. Although, after the Yang Mountain spiritual realm was promoted to the spiritual realm, there were many more monsters of the spirit martial realm in the endless mountains. But it did not mean that the number of monsters of the true martial realm would decrease. On the contrary, with the increase in the concentration of spiritual energy, many monsters of the basic martial realm had been promoted to the true martial realm. As for the monsters of the true martial realm, they were moving towards a higher realm. In general, there was no shortage of monsters here. No matter what level they were at, there was no shortage of monsters. Only a few hours had passed. Song Qing once again encountered 3 monsters, 2 at the 5th level of the true martial realm and 1 at the 7th level of the true martial realm. But they were all killed by his saber. As for the harvest, in addition to the experience points, there was a beast core at the 7th level of the true martial realm. A beast core at the 7th level of the true martial realm. If converted into contribution points, there would be a total of 2,100 points. However, now Song Qing's face did not have much joy. Instead, he was a little more worried. Even if there are many monsters in the endless mountains, it usually depends on luck to encounter 1 or 2 monsters of the true martial realm. Like now, I have encountered 6 monsters in half a day. It is a bit too frequent. Before encountering these 3 demonic beasts, he had already killed 3 of them. Combined, a total of 6 demons had died at his hands. However, adding up the time, only about half a day had passed. Such a harvest. Not only did it not make Song Qing happy, but his heart became dignified. There were more monsters. This was not a good thing for him. This meant the danger in the endless mountains was rising in a straight line. And the increase of monsters meant that the probability of a monster tide would also increase. Compared with hunting monsters alone, if there was a monster tide, even Song Qing himself was not sure that he could survive once. Relatively, if he died once, the loss would be too great. Next, when Song Qing walked in the endless mountains, he was a lot more careful. There were more monsters of the true martial realm. There were also more monsters of the spirit martial realm. With his current strength, he could still run when encountering a normal monster of the spirit martial realm. But if he encountered a monster of the airborne realm or above, he would only have a dead end. Boom! The sound of breaking air came from a distance. Song Qing took the opportunity to dodge to the side and saw a black shadow covering the earth. Above his head, a huge monster spread its wings and swept across the sky, bringing a fierce wind. The aura that was emitted, it made him feel a suffocating pressure from a distance. Airborne realm, or Saint realm, Song Qing was not sure. But one thing he could know was that this monster was definitely not something he could deal with. Fortunately, demonic beasts came quickly and left quickly. In the blink of an eye, it flew away and disappeared. When Song Qing was about to come out of the hiding place, he suddenly stopped. In his sight, a large number of monsters came from a distance. Chapter 339. Beasts. A large number of beasts came from the depths of the endless mountains. All the players who entered the endless mountains to fight monsters encountered the beasts head-on. There was no hesitation. All the players were chased out of the mountains by the beast tide. There was no other way. The number of demonic beasts was simply too great. Not only could they be described as overwhelming, but they were also terrifyingly powerful. Among the large number of beasts, there were many terrifying beasts with terrifying auras. These beasts, all of them were at least at the level of the spirit martial realm, or even higher. Damn, why are there so many beasts all of a sudden? Beast tide. It's the beast tide again. Damn, I was almost killed by a spiritual martial realm beast just now. Fortunately, I ran fast, otherwise, I would have wasted half a month of fighting monsters. Brothers in front, run faster. They are coming from behind. Don't block the way. Facing the beast tide, the players fled desperately. For the players at this stage, without the existence of the airborne realm, they could only rely on their two legs to escape. In this way, those who usually practiced footwork and body movement had a great advantage in this situation. Lu Dazhong suddenly pounced down, followed by a violent gust of wind that swept past his head. When the wind blew, his back was burning with pain. When he raised his head, he saw a gigantic monster flying away. Its sharp claws had already pierced through a player in front of him. His physical invulnerability expert's protective aura was like a piece of paper. It didn't have any effect at all. Seeing this, Lu Dazhong once again felt the deep malice of the endless mountains. It was too strong. The two sides were not on the same level at all. After the flying beast left, he hurriedly got up from the ground and fled forward frantically, because there was a large number of beasts chasing behind him. If he was slower, he would only end up being guessed into minced meat. Run. Everyone was running away. Entering the endless mountains, it wasn't just the players. Even some local people would enter to explore in order to collect resources. But at this moment, everyone's actions were surprisingly consistent. After the first batch of players had escaped, the news of the beast horde had officially spread. After receiving the news, the first thing Yuan Zhong did was to gather the experts and prepare to deal with the attack of the beast horde. Within Yuan Sek's sphere of influence, the only areas that bordered the Endless Mountain Range were the Liang Mountain Range and the Stone Forest Range. When the first demonic beast attempted to cross the Endless Mountain Range and officially stepped into the territory of Liang Mountain, buzz, a lightning rune appeared in the void. Immediately after, that terrifying bolt of lightning rained down, killing that monster, which was at least at the airborne realm. Right there and then, boom! When the lightning struck, a terrifying might spread out like the might of the heavens. Such a sudden turn of events. This caused the demonic beasts that were about to rush out of the Endless Mountain Range to stop in their tracks. After all, no matter how low a demonic beast's intelligence was, it knew the meaning of fear. Under the deterrence of the thunder, it was enough to make them flinch. However, the demonic beasts in front stopped, but the demonic beasts behind didn't. Under the impact of the two, the demonic beast in front was unable to control its body and was sent flying out of the Endless Mountain Range. In an instant, a huge and terrifying rune condensed in the sky. The next moment, that terrifying bolt of lightning rained down, killing all the demonic beasts that crossed this boundary on the spot. It didn't matter if it was a true martial realm demonic beast. It didn't matter if it was a spirit martial realm demonic beast. Under this bolt of lightning, they were all like weak ants and turned into ashes in an instant. The players who had originally escaped from the Endless Mountain Range. At this moment, when they saw the lightning raining down from the sky, they were extremely shocked. That was a rune that was condensed. The power that it gave them was even more terrifying than a Dao artifact. This is the barrier that the sect master set up before. Phew. Many people secretly heaved a sigh of relief. A barrier set up by a formation master. It wasn't that easy to break. It could be seen that all the demonic beasts that tried to cross over were all killed. At this moment, The experts of Yuan sect had already gathered. The two sides were divided into two teams. One team rushed to the stone forest to take charge of the situation, while the other team went to the border between Liang Mountain and the Endless Mountain Range to stop the demonic beasts from entering. When they arrived, they just happened to see the lightning raining down and the demonic beasts turning into ashes. Combination formation rune. This must be the method that the sect master left behind. Looking at the rune in the sky, Xiang Haogan immediately recognized it and exclaimed in surprise. Combination formation rune. It seemed simple, but it wasn't. To achieve this step, one had to have a sufficient understanding of the combined rune before being able to combine them together to achieve the effect of combining two into one. This was different from the many runes that were used when setting up a formation. When setting up a formation, although many runes were used, each rune existed independently. However, the combination rune was different. When the two were combined, it was a new whole. Moreover, even if one could inscribe the combination rune, they definitely wouldn't be able to achieve such power. Just by relying on one rune, it directly blocked the beast tide outside the formation rune. The power of the lightning raining down. Even Xiang Haogan, a great cultivator of the god martial realm, still felt his heart palpitate. As for when he saw the combination rune, Xiang Haogan also saw the meaning of the rune. Demon slaying rune. At this moment, hearing Xiang Haogan's words, Su Yuaming turned his head to look at him and asked, in Hall Master Xiang's opinion, can this formation rune stop the beast tide? It's hard to say. Xiang Haogan looked at the demonic beasts that were still rushing out from behind the Endless Mountain Range and shook his head. The demon-slaying rune is naturally powerful, but it is only a rune left behind by the sect master. It relies on absorbing the power of heaven and earth and turning it into an attack. Once the consumption rate is higher than the absorption rate, then the rune won't be able to stop these demonic beasts. The rune was very strong, but it also had weaknesses. Just like now, there were too many demonic beasts, and they were faintly exceeding the absorption rate of the demon-slaying rune. In this way, it would be difficult for the demon-slaying rune to stop all the demonic beasts. Although these thunderbolts were terrifying, but as the power weakened, it was difficult to threaten the powerful demonic beasts. However, these were just words for later. At least in Xiang Haogan's opinion, the demon-slaying rune would definitely be fine in a short period of time. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but sigh. The sect master really had foresight. He had already set up a backup plan to prevent the beast tide. If not for the demon-slaying rune blocking the vast majority of the demonic beasts, the sect would have suffered a lot of losses from this beast tide alone. At this point, Xiang Haogan turned around and looked at the group of people from the array hall and shouted, all the people from the array hall, middle grade array master and above, follow this old man to set up the array? Yes, sir. The people from the array hall immediately replied. Following that, Xiang Haogan brought a group of people and approached the border between the two places. He immediately dispersed the other disciples and set up the array on the spot. The array master set up the array. There was a limitation. That was, once the array was set up, it could not be easily moved. Only when one broke through to the array master realm would they be able to turn themselves into a mobile array and form an array with a wave of their hand. Besides that, if other array masters wanted to set up an array, they would need a certain amount of time. They would not be able to completely carve an array in the air. So after a formation was set up, they would basically wait for people to step into the array. This also explained from the side. An array master had to at least reach the level of an array master in order to have a trace of threat. And at the level of a master, that was the true weapon of war. As for array masters below the level of a master, strictly speaking, the use of actual combat was not that great. This was also the reason why the Baiyun Mansion's array Dao declined. However, the situation in front of him, in Xiang Haogan's eyes, was the best opportunity to set up the array. If the demonic beasts wanted to rush out of the Endless Mountain Range, they had to step into the boundary of Liang Mountain, and it was the kind that was unavoidable. Under such circumstances, as long as the array was set up, the next thing to do was to wait for the demonic beasts to walk into the trap. Deep in the Endless Mountain Range, There was a giant wolf covered in silver fur standing on top of a hill. Its pair of eyes could see through the obstruction of many demonic beasts and directly see the demon-slaying array pattern engraved in the sky. And the lightning that kept falling and turning all the demonic beasts into ashes. Demon slaying, what a big tone. It seems that the person who set up this array should be the array master who killed the Black Abyss emissary of the 12 underworld emissaries. It seems that he has some tricks up his sleeve. The giant silver wolf spoke in human language, but his ferocious face had a hint of seriousness. Although he did not really face the demon-slaying array pattern, he could feel the terror from it, especially since the person who set up the array was the array master who killed the emissary of the Black Abyss. That was even more terrifying. The 12 underworld emissaries. Each of them was at least a half-step diviner expert, and each of them had a technique that was comparable to a diviner. If the veteran diviners of the monster clan did not come out, the 12 underworld emissaries were the strongest. The array master was able to kill the 12 underworld emissaries, so his skills were naturally not ordinary. Looking at the demon-slaying array pattern constantly absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, it was sent out to kill all the demonic beasts that rushed out of the endless mountain range. The giant silver wolf suddenly opened his mouth, and a bright jade talisman flew out from his mouth. Immediately, the jade talisman shattered, and the phantom of a giant wolf floated in the air. Roar! The silent roar directly shook the void, causing all the demonic beasts to tremble. Then, they lay on the ground, not daring to move at all. Even the demonic beasts in the god martial arts realm. At this moment, their hearts were trembling, but they did not lie on the ground. Instead, they looked at the phantom of the giant wolf in the sky in awe. Then, the phantom of the giant wolf gathered endless spiritual energy of heaven and earth in its mouth. The next moment, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth that gathered together broke through the sky like a rainbow, crossing an unknown distance and suddenly bombarding the demon-slaying array pattern. Boom! Chapter 340. The demon-slaying array pattern shone brightly. It fiercely collided with the spiritual energy rainbow. A few seconds later, the demon-slaying array pattern that was engraved in the air began to tremble violently. Soon after, in front of everyone's eyes, it began to crumble bit by bit and was about to dissipate in the air. However, just as the demon-slaying array pattern was about to completely dissipate, suddenly, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth swept over. The shocking lightning wrapped around the endless spiritual energy of heaven and earth, transforming into a terrifying blade that directly slashed towards the endless mountain range. This slash, it directly split the air into two. Wherever the lightning passed, it left behind a scorched mark in the air. The giant silver wolf that was originally standing on the hill. At this moment, all the hairs on his body stood on end, as if some terrifying danger was approaching. Then, he saw that the shocking blade had already occupied his entire line of sight. He didn't dare to hesitate at all. The giant silver wolf immediately turned around and ran. However, he ran fast, but the blade came even faster. The next moment, the hill shattered. A giant silver wolf let out a mournful howl. In the end, it was sent flying by the thunderblade. Blood splattered on the ground in mid-air. Finally, the giant silver wolf powerlessly fell to the ground. A scorched blade mark on his body had almost cut him in half. However, with the strong vitality of the demon clan, this kind of injury did not cause the giant silver wolf to die. Instead, as time passed, the blood flowing from the wound decreased bit by bit, and the wound seemed to be slowly healing. However, every time the wound healed to a certain extent, lightning flashed in the wound, and the wound exploded once again. On the other side, the demon-slaying array pattern that was originally intercepting the demon-slaying array pattern was destroyed by the sudden attack. The sudden change caught everyone off guard. Fortunately, Xiang Haogan and the others from the array formation hall had already set up the array formation. When the threat of the demon-slaying array pattern was gone, the demon-slaying beasts in the endless mountain range finally charged towards the boundary of Liang Mountain. When the demon clan stepped into the boundary of Liang Mountain, Xiang Haogan shouted sternly, "Array, rise!" As soon as he finished, in an instant, sand and stones flew everywhere. Ice and flames suddenly appeared, enveloping all the demon-slaying beasts that stepped into the range of the array. However, this was only a high-grade array. The strongest was only able to contend against the demon-slaying stage. Even a prominent divine stage demonic beast might not be able to stop him. Moreover, in terms of durability, it was not as good as the previous demon-slaying array pattern. Therefore, in less than half an hour after the formation was activated, all of the formations were destroyed with a loud bang. As the price for the destruction of the formations, the demonic beasts also left behind hundreds of corpses. Most of them were in the real martial realm, and a few had reached the spirit martial realm. The moment the formation was broken, all disciples of Yuan's sect, "Follow me and kill." As soon as he finished speaking, Niu Feng was the first to attack. His saber carried a violent gale as it attacked a domain-enlightened spirit god realm demon beast. At this moment, the other people from the Yuan sect also charged towards the demonic beasts. 36 phantoms streaked across the air. Black sword flashes filled everyone's line of sight before finally coalescing into a terrifying sword attack, killing an airborne realm monster right there and then. Holding his sword in one hand, Sha Jianfeng's body floated towards another demonic beast. Celestial Ghost, 7 kills against the stars. This was a martial art that had already reached the point of entering the Tao. In his hands, it had already reached an unfathomable realm. Even the ancestor of the Ji clan, who had created this martial art in the past. In terms of attainments in the 7 kills of the gods and demons, the Defiant Stars was far inferior to Sha Jianfeng's current attainments. An airborne realm monster was killed in an instant. This also shocked many people. When they saw Sha Jianfeng walking among the demonic beasts as if he was taking a leisurely stroll, and every time he unsheathed his sword, a demonic beast would fall, it immediately attracted the attention of many people. F***CK. He usually doesn't show off. This outer sect elder is too strong. No, after this beast tied, I must find a way to become his disciple. Who knows, I might be able to learn that terrifying move from just now. Seeing Sha Jianfeng instantly kill an airborne realm monster, many of the players were taken aback. When Sha Jianfeng broke through to the airborne realm, many people knew about it. However, compared to now, there were many visionary Saint Realm and Divine Martial Realm guests in the Yuan sect. An airborne realm cultivator was not very eye-catching. Moreover, the other party was only an outer sect elder. Compared to inner sect elders, outer sect elders did not have much real power. Furthermore, Sha Jianfeng was usually very indifferent and did not care about anything. As such, no one wanted to become his disciple. However, things were different now. That mystical martial art allowed an airborne realm cultivator to instantly kill a demonic beast of the same level. Even ordinary divine-level martial arts would not be able to do so. The battle, it had already begun in the area of Liang Mountain. The Yuan sect was no longer what it used to be. In terms of strength, it was no longer the same as when it first faced the beast tide. Yuan sect outer sect Deacon Xie has died. Yuan sect outer sect Deacon Chen Guangchuan has died. Yuan sect inner sect Deacon Qin Shujian was originally cultivating in silence. Now that he was receiving frequent system notifications, he immediately withdrew from his cultivation state. Something happened. This was his first reaction. Afterward, Qin Shujian looked at the death notifications again and found that a large number of Yuan sect disciples had died, and this information was constantly being refreshed. Previously, he did not receive it. It was all because the death notifications of disciples were all blocked by him. Only when people above deacon level died would the system prompt appear. Until now, when he saw the series of death notifications, Qin Shujian had a premonition that things were going to be troublesome. Could it be that someone is attacking Yuan's sect with all their strength while I'm not around? His face was gloomy. Otherwise, it would be difficult to explain why there were so many casualties in a short period of time. Then, he saw the source of life that was constantly rising. It was also a sign. At this moment, a fierce battle was happening in Yuan's sect. Suddenly, Qin Shujian could not sit still anymore. He directly came out of the place where he was cultivating in seclusion, then found Su Mingyang and went straight to the point. I have a premonition that something might have happened to Yuan's sect. He did not directly say that he had received a system notification. This was a personal secret. However, using the premonition as an excuse was enough. After all, as the cultivator's realm became more and more profound, the premonition was also very accurate. Hearing this, Su Mingyang immediately frowned deeply and said in a deep voice, "Sect Master Qin, are you sure?" "That's right." After receiving a definite answer from Qin Shujian, Su Mingyang's heart also sank. Before the first wave had subsided, another wave arose. If something happened to Yuan's sect, he could not force Qin Shujian to stay. After all, this was a major matter that concerned the survival of the sect. It was not something that could be replaced by other things. It was also at this moment. An attendant came forward and said to the two of them, "Master Qin, Master Su, Lord Yin invites you." The two of them looked at each other. In the end, Qin Shujian said, "Lead the way." Then, the two of them were led directly to the city lord's mansion by the attendant. At this moment, the atmosphere in the city lord's mansion was also very gloomy. Even Ming Jingshan's face was solemn and he looked worried. Almost all the generals had arrived. Only Yin Saija and a few others had not appeared yet. Seeing that Qin Shujian had arrived, Ming Jingshan also greeted him. "Sect Master Qin is here." "Master Ming, may I know what happened?" Qin Shujian asked tentatively. It could be seen from the other party's expression. Ming Jingshan must have found out about something. Hearing this, the old man shook his head and sighed. Marquis Nanfeng and Marquis Luoyue have rebelled. It was a simple sentence, but it made Qin Shujian's heart tremble violently. Marquis Nanfeng, Marquis Luoyue. These two were not ordinary marquises. They were existences that controlled Nanfeng Mansion and Luoyue Mansion. Their status was the same as Marquis Qianshan of Thousand Mountain Mansion. The two of them rebelled. This meant that two more mansions were no longer under the control of the imperial court. Qin Shujian did not expect this either. The human emperor had only passed away for 2 or 3 days, and now the two marquises were openly rebelling. It was also at this moment, Yin Saija and the last few people had arrived. Yin Saija just glanced at the crowd and said directly, "Marquis Nanfeng and Marquis Luoyue have rebelled. Now they are leading the army to Central State Mansion and trying to seize the imperial city. Therefore, we must withdraw our troops and go back to help. We are only one step away from taking down Gu Chongqing. If we go back now, all our previous efforts will be wasted." Someone said unwillingly, "The imperial city's safety is more important than anything else. If the imperial city falls into the hands of the rebels, even if we quell the rebellion of Thousand Mountain Mansion, what can we do?" Yin Saija glanced at him and said coldly, "Also, the order came from the imperial family. As subjects of the great Zhao, we must go back to help." Hearing this, Wu Tai, Ke Yuqing, and the other deputies remained silent. That's right. The imperial city was the rightful ruler of the great Zhao. They could not make any mistakes. Or else, even if they killed Gu Chongqing, it would be of no use. More importantly, the imperial family had issued an order. If they did not obey, they would be cursed in the future. Therefore, retreating was something that had to be done. They understood the importance of this matter. Therefore, when Yin Saija spoke, Wu Tai and the others did not express any opinions. Only those who did not know the truth and did not have access to the information of the imperial court were angry at this decision. Even Yin Saija himself was unwilling to retreat at this juncture. In order to force Gu Chongqing to this point, the imperial court had paid a heavy price. However, an imperial order was an imperial order. Although a general could not obey the orders of the emperor, he had to know his priorities. Faced with Yin Saija's resolute attitude, some generals did not want to retreat but had to obey the order. However, they had to retreat. It did not mean that they had to give up the territory in Thousand Mountain Mansion. What Yin Saija and the others had to do was to ensure the safety of the cities as much as possible. However, these were matters of the imperial court. To Qin Shujian, it had nothing to do with him. After Yin Saija decided to retreat, he stood up. He stood up and cupped his hands, saying, "Lord Yin, since you've decided to withdraw your troops, then my mission this time can be considered complete. There are still other matters within the sect that need to be dealt with, so I won't stay here any longer." Chapter 341. Regarding Qin Shujian's words, Yin Caizhe did not refuse. Now that he had returned to the imperial court, he had to deal with one more array grandmaster or one less array grandmaster. It would not change anything. Furthermore, previously, he had invited the other party to deal with Gu Chongqing. If he changed his request, the chances of the other party agreeing were not high. Fortunately, Yin Caizhe did not ask for it. On the other side, Qin Shujian did not mention the rest of the reward. This time, his purpose was to help the imperial court quell the chaos. However, the rebels of the Thousand Mountains Prefecture were not dealt with, and he returned to the imperial court midway. Strictly speaking, he did not do much. Furthermore, the death of the human emperor was a big matter. The imperial court might not remember the rest of the reward. Regarding this, Qin Shujian did not bother to care anymore. He had obtained 3 superior-grade Khanate spiritual artifacts. This trip was not a loss. After bidding farewell to Yin Caizhe, Qin Shujian directly went through the teleportation door and rushed to the Liang Mountain Spirit Domain. He left with him, and Su Mingying. At this moment, the Liang Mountain Spirit Domain was also in chaos. In other words, the entire Baiyun Prefecture was in chaos. The place close to the Endless Mountain Range was not as simple as the Liang Mountain boundary and the Stone Forest. It was not even just the Liang Mountain Spirit Domain. The Baiyun Prefecture was at the border of the Great Zhao. It was destined to be close to the Endless Mountain Range. This time, all the demon beasts in the Endless Mountain Range had come out and caused a monstrous beast tide. Many regions were affected. In just one day, countless sects were destroyed. As for the number of people killed by the demon beasts, it was even more difficult to calculate. For this, Marquis Baiyun had sent troops to various places to quell the chaos. However, they still could not completely solve the demon beast's chaos. Whether it was the large sects of the spirit domain or the top sects of the large regions, they could only barely hold on in the face of the beast tide. On the contrary, the beast tide in the true dominion in the ordinary realm was much easier to quell. This was because the strength of the demon beasts would be suppressed to an extremely low level in these regions. In comparison, although there were many imperial court troops in the Baiyun Prefecture, the average level of the soldiers was not high. They did not have much advantage in quelling the large regions of the spirit domain. However, it was relatively easy to quell the demon beasts in the true dominion in the ordinary realm. The portal flickered slightly. Qin Shujian appeared in a place that was both unfamiliar and familiar at the same time. Ancient City. It used to be the #1 city in the continent's true domain, but now, it was just a city in the Liang Mountain Spirit Domain. This was not the first time he had come to Ancient Town. Every time he came to this city, he could feel the ancient aura left behind in the ancient city. He could even sense the great battle that had taken place here from the city walls. The smell of iron and blood seemed to be deeply engraved in the city. However, this time, the hidden smell of iron and blood was completely revealed. Even though Qin Shujian was standing within the range of the teleportation gate, he could still feel the soaring bloody aura, as well as the murderous aura that filled the city. War was breaking out in this city. At this moment, the protective formation above their heads had already been activated. The ordinary citizens did not hide, but everyone's faces were filled with solemnity. It was often seen. Huge demonic beasts spread their wings and soared into the sky, attempting to attack the city. However, the protective formation was still there. When these demonic beasts attacked, not only did they not break through the protective formation, but they were also injured by the recoil and were even sent flying. These are demonic beasts. Ancient City is going to encounter a beast tide? Qin Shujian glanced at the system message. At this moment, there were no more death notifications from Yuanzong. In this situation, the situation should have been alleviated. Originally, he wanted to return to Liang Mountain City directly. However, now that Ancient City was facing a beast tide, Although he did not know the situation at Yuanzhong's side, there were no more casualties. The situation should be under control. No matter what, Ancient City was still a city that belonged to the Liang Mountain Spirit Domain. As for the Liang Mountain Spirit Domain, that was Qin Shujian's territory. If Ancient City was attacked by the Beast Tide, it would not be good for Yuanzhong. Thinking about it, Qin Shujian immediately left the range of the teleportation gate and rushed towards the city walls. At this moment, all the guards in Ancient City were using the city walls as a barrier. They were using bows and arrows to deal with the demonic beasts below the city walls. They were also using spears and swords to deal with the demonic beasts that had climbed up the city walls. Killing. It was almost everywhere. Some of the demonic beasts were agile. They directly jumped up the city walls and started a bloody massacre. Many soldiers had to sacrifice their lives in order to forcefully kill these demonic beasts. Kill. His spear pierced through the air and directly pierced through a demonic beast that had climbed up the city walls. Sweat was faintly visible on Song Ziming's forehead. Until now, there were no less than 10 demonic beasts that had died in his hands, along with the promotion of the Lingxi True Domain to the Liang Mountain Spirit Domain. The demonic beasts that attacked Ancient City this time were generally powerful. There was no lack of demonic beasts in the spirit martial realm, although these powerful demonic beasts were dealt with by the experts of the imperial court. However, demonic beasts that were below the spirit martial realm were enough to make him suffer. After all, Song Ziming was just a cultivator in the physical aura realm. When he was in the Lingxi True Domain, a cultivator in the physical aura realm was naturally a top expert. However, as he was promoted to the spirit domain, he could only be said to be ordinary. In addition, the spirit domain had just been promoted. No matter how amazing a person was, it was difficult to break through the boundary of the true martial realm and enter the spirit martial realm in a short period of time. Unless he was an expert in the true martial realm, or else it was almost impossible. When he was in the Lingxi True Domain, Song Ziming was only in the 8th level of the true martial realm. Now, he was only in the 9th level of the true martial realm. He couldn't even reach the peak of the true martial realm, let alone the spirit martial realm. Commander Song, the demonic beasts are constantly hitting the city walls. If this continues, I'm afraid the city walls won't be able to withstand it. At this time, a deputy general stepped forward and said with a solemn expression. Hearing this, Song Ziming leaned over and looked down the city walls. Many demonic beasts directly hit the city walls when they couldn't climb up, although the city walls were reinforced by runes. With the continuous violent impact, the city walls also trembled slightly, and small debris kept falling down. Seeing this, Song Ziming's heart sank. Although he didn't think that some demonic beasts could collapse the city walls of Ancient City, he was still afraid of the unexpected. If the city walls of Ancient City collapsed, then everyone in the city would have to face at least tens of thousands of demonic beasts in front of them. When that time came, not only them, but also the civilians in the city would not be spared. Thinking of this, Song Ziming immediately said, "Report this to the city lord immediately." Yes, the deputy general ordered to leave. Song Ziming immediately shouted, "Everyone use rolling stones and pour poisonous water to clear the demonic beasts below the city walls. Don't let them hit the city walls frequently." After receiving the order, immediately, someone brought rolling stones and large buckets of poisonous water and poured them down the city walls. Each rolling stone weighed tens of thousands of kilograms. Fortunately, the people who carried the rolling stones were all real martial realm cultivators. Even if the rolling stones weighed tens of thousands of kilograms, they still had the strength to move them. As the rolling stones fell, when the rolling stones that weighed tens of thousands of kilograms fell, the impact was enough to break any real martial realm demonic beast's tendons and bones. In an instant, many demonic beasts were smashed to the point of vomiting blood, and some were even directly smashed to death. As for the poisonous water when it fell, all the demonic beasts that were stained with the dark green poisonous water had their skin and flesh rotten. In just a few minutes, they died directly. This poisonous water. It was specially refined by the imperial court for the purpose of defending the city and dealing with the enemy troops attacking the city. And considering the problem of the cultivators, this poisonous water was also specially made. It was enough to corrode the protective chi of a physical invulnerability cultivator. Even if a cultivator of the spiritual martial realm was stained with it, it would be difficult for him to remain intact. As the defenders counterattacked, the speed of the demonic beasts attacking the city slowed down significantly. But whether it was the rolling stones or the poisonous water, because the city hadn't fought for many years, the reserves were extremely limited. It didn't take long. These things had already been used up. Without the threat of the rolling stones and the poisonous water, the attacks of the demonic beasts suddenly became fiercer. The runes on the city walls shone brightly, but several of them quietly shattered and disappeared after emitting a strong light. Everything. Just as Song Ziming was about to take the next defensive step, he suddenly paused and looked at the person who had suddenly appeared on the city wall with shock and bewilderment. After a short moment of surprise, he couldn't hide the joy on his face and asked, "Are you Master Qin of Yuanzhong?" Yuanzhong Qin Shujian. Qin Shujian glanced at him and nodded slightly. Immediately, he looked back at the demonic beasts below the city walls. There were almost all kinds of demonic beasts. Some of them were huge demonic beasts that were dozens of feet tall, and some of them were flying demonic beasts that directly soared into the sky like a miniature three-headed green feather kite. Each of them emitted a weak or strong aura. Qin Shujian roughly looked. As far as his eyes could see, there were at least tens of thousands of demonic beasts. Not to mention, there was still a steady stream of demonic beasts coming from afar. Seeing this, he couldn't help but be secretly shocked. How many demonic beasts are hiding in the endless mountain range? Just one city in the Liang Mountain spiritual region has so many demonic beasts, forming a demonic beast tide. Then, how many demonic beasts are invading the entire Baiyun prefecture? If you add in the other prefectures, the number of demonic beasts is too much. After many transmissions, Qin Shujian also knew that many demonic beast tides had occurred in the Baiyun prefecture. As for the casualties of Yuanzhong before, in his opinion, it must be because of the demonic beast tides. Not knowing what Qin Shujian was thinking, Song Ziming, who was standing on the side, became excited after confirming the identity of the master of Yuanzhong in front of him. He directly bowed down to him. "Master Qin, please help us solve the crisis of the demonic beast tide." Chapter 342. In Mount Liang, Qin Shujian was the publicly acknowledged #1 expert. In Song Ziming's opinion, if he could make a move, he would definitely be able to deal with the beast tide in Ancient City. Qin Shujian moved away from the beast tide's line of sight, and then he looked at Song Ziming and said with a faint smile, "Since I'm here, I won't stand idly by. Don't worry." After he finished speaking, he took a step into the air and stepped into the sky above the beast tide. Suddenly, a human appeared. It instantly attracted the attention of numerous demon beasts. Instantly, a gigantic flying demonic beast pounced over. Its pair of razor-sharp claws could easily crush a physical invulnerability stage cultivator. Qin Shujian blasted out with his palm. A blue energy palm flew out, and then it expanded with the wind and became over 30 meters long. In the blink of an eye, it was as huge as the flying demon beast, and then it collided fiercely with the flying demon beast. Bang! In just an instant, the flying demon beast seemed to have encountered an unstoppable force, and it instantly exploded into a mist of blood. Regardless of its cultivation in the Tao of formations, Qin Shujian was now a great cultivator at the 8th level of the Vision Saint Realm, and in terms of true strength, even an ordinary peak Vision Saint Realm cultivator was inferior to him. A demon beast that was only at the Domain God Realm. How could it be a match for him? At the same time, the terrifying fluctuations from the battle here instantly attracted the attention of numerous powerful demon beasts. Seeing this, Qin Shujian's storage ring flashed, and the Bow of the Universe and the Cloud Piercer arrow were finally released. "I almost suffocated to death." This was the first sentence the Bow of the Universe said. Fuck. So many demon beasts. This was the second sentence the Bow of the Universe said. Qin Shujian said coldly, I'll give you a chance today. Kill as many as you can. If you kill enough, I'll give you a chance to advance to a 2-seal Dao artifact. Hearing this, the Bow of the Universe instantly exploded. A 2-seal Dao artifact. After becoming a Dao artifact, a 2-seal Dao artifact was the level it dreamed of. In response to Qin Shujian's words, the Bow of the Universe didn't doubt him at all. It was fully aware of Qin Shujian's miraculous methods. Since he said it could advance to a 2-seal Dao artifact, then it would definitely be able to advance to a 2-seal Dao artifact. Thinking of this, the Qiankuan Bao instantly absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Soon after, the bowstring was drawn and the cloud-piercing arrow was already knocked on it. The next second, the taut bowstring bounced back, and the cloud-piercing arrow instantly pierced through the void, directly entering the horde of demonic beasts. 2 1-seal Dao artifacts joined forces. Moreover, it was a companion Dao treasure. After combining the two, its power was comparable to a 2-seal Dao artifact. Such a terrifying attack directly caused all the demonic beasts it touched to explode in the air. Finally, it pierced through a prominent divine demonic beast, and the cloud-piercing arrow flew back. On the city wall, all of the defenders were shocked when they saw this. After a brief moment of shock, joy appeared on his face. Initially, they didn't have the confidence to resist the beast tide. But now that they had such a powerhouse helping them, the matter would be much easier to resolve. Not everyone knew Qin Shujian. Only generals like Song Ziming, who guarded the ancient city, would have the opportunity to recognize the existence of the sect master of Yuanzhong. As for the ordinary civilians and soldiers, even though they had heard of Qin Shujian's name, they had never seen him in person. However, this definitely didn't include the players. There were guards from the imperial court on the city wall, but there were also players who had accepted the mission. After all, the beast tide this time was very serious. The city master of the ancient city couldn't possibly let the players not use such a large force and only use the lives of his own people. This is the Cold Mountain Fort Master? I heard that the Cold Mountain Fort Master was in the Thousand Mountains Prefecture. When did he return? Our Fort Master is still our Fort Master. His strength is indeed 6. Many players had excited expressions. Many people had already forgotten the fear of being dominated by this former beginner village's big boss. Instead, as his reputation grew, many players had the thought of becoming his disciple. This method was also the recognition of the Cold Mountain Fort Master's strength. Unfortunately, until now, no one had succeeded. On the other side, the Cosmos Bao had shot dozens of demonic beasts with a single arrow. At this moment, after a slight pause, it used the cloud-piercing arrow again. Its power wasn't as strong as before, but when it attacked on its own, its power was comparable to that of a prominent divine stage cultivator. It was also at this moment. Behind him, the Thousand Mountains blood was suddenly unsheathed. The 3-seal Dao artifact's power soared through the sky. When the saber energy slashed down, it was covered in lightning and instantly swallowed a large number of demonic beasts. He had 20% saber intent in his hand. Even if it was an ordinary move, Qin Shujian had reached the level of perfection. It didn't matter if it was a true martial realm demonic beast. It didn't matter if it was a spirit martial realm demonic beast. But any demonic beast that came into contact with the saber energy was killed on the spot. They didn't even have the chance to fight back. Roar. With a shocking roar, a demonic beast with 6 arms and a body of 300 to 400 feet tall strode over. A terrifying and ferocious aura spread out. This aura, it had surpassed the limits of the spirit realm and reached the god martial realm. God martial realm. Looking at this incomparably huge, 6-armed demonic beast, Qin Shujian's eyes didn't show any fear. Instead, a strong desire to fight surged in his eyes. Ever since he had the skills of a formation grandmaster, it had been a long time since he fought with other existences. Most of the time, he directly used formations to crush them. After a long time, Qin Shujian almost forgot how it felt to fight back then. At this moment, Under the impact of the six-armed demonic beast's aura, a long-lost desire to fight surged in his heart. Then, he released the Thousand Mountains blood in his hand and shouted, "Kill all the demonic beasts near the city wall." Buzz! The saber hummed softly. In an instant, it broke through the air and floated above the city wall. Thousands of saber energy burst out from the saber. The sharp saber energy was comparable to a divine weapon. Even the powerful body of a demonic beast couldn't withstand such an attack. Three Seal Dao artifact. Even without its master's control, it was still comparable to a great cultivator of the god martial realm. Boom! A 300-foot-tall spirit god appeared in the void. Qin Shujian formed a seal with one hand. The spirit god in the void did the same. When the seal was formed, an almost solid mountain suddenly crushed down from the void. Rumble. The mountain crushed down, and the void rumbled. Great Desolation Devil Suppressing Seal, Moving Mountain Seal. Looking at the mountain crushing down, the six-armed demonic beast roared angrily. Its 6 arms blasted out with a force that could break the sky and collided heavily with the mountain. Crack! The ground beneath their feet cracked. A terrifying wind swept out in all directions with the two as the center. The terrifying power instantly shattered the mountain range. At the same time, the 6-armed demonic beast seemed to have broken through some kind of shackle. Its strength instantly rose from the peak of the prominent saint realm to the god martial realm. An invisible pressure descended from the sky, causing its body to tremble slightly. However, it was only his physical body that was trembling. The pressure of the shackles in the spirit protectorate was not as strong as the true dominion and the ordinary dominion. The 6-armed demonic beast used its powerful body to break through the shackles of the earth domain and unleash its strength perfectly. Seeing this, Qin Shujian's eyes revealed a solemn expression. The 6-armed demonic beast could only unleash the strength of the peak of the prominent saint realm. Now, it had transformed into the god martial realm. Strength. It had undergone a huge transformation. However, he did not retreat because of this. He took a step forward and formed a seal with both hands. A terrifying body seemed to merge with the 300-foot spirit deity as a vast aura spread out. Immediately, as the seal was formed, an earth-shattering palm pressed down. An ancient aura instantly filled the air. The 6-armed demonic beast crushed the ground with one step. When it waved its 6 arms, it could shake the void. The strength of each arm could split mountains and rivers and easily kill spirit martial realm cultivators. When the two attacks collided with each other, Li Tianlan's eyes widened. There was an earth-shattering sound. Boom, boom. The speed of the two attacks was not fast. However, every attack shook the wind and clouds. The terrifying aftershocks spread out, causing many demonic beasts to retreat. The 300-foot spirit deity. This was Qin Shujian's greatest asset at the moment. The 300-foot spirit deity allowed him to possess a spiritual force power that was not weaker than the god martial realm. With the support of the spirit deity, the Great Desolation Devil Suppressing Seal, the strength it unleashed was also different from before. Mountain Moving Seal, Ocean Overturning Seal, Demon Suppressing Seal. The 3 simple moves of the Great Desolate Demon Suppressing Seal actually hid many changes. It was just that all the changes reached a very simple level and finally condensed into 3 moves of the Great Desolate Demon Suppressing Seal. Moreover, under the superposition of the 7 techniques, Qin Shujian also had a surging vital essence that was far more than others. As for the Immortal King body, it also allowed his physical body to reach an extremely powerful level. With the combination of the 3, in fact, Qin Shujian did not have any obvious weaknesses. Every attack he made was a head-on collision with the 6-armed demonic beast. The terrifying power was unleashed and the aftershocks spread out. It could not shake the body at all. Boom! Demon Suppressing Seal. Another palm fell, and the 6-armed demonic beast was forced to retreat. In terms of foundation, even if it was an existence of the god martial realm, it was still weaker than Qin Shujian. This gap, as time passed, it had been gradually expanded. Demon Suppressing Seal. Demon Suppressing Seal. Demon Suppressing Seal. From beginning to end, Qin Shujian only used one move of the demon suppressing seal. When the six-armed demonic beast suffered this terrifying power one after another, the blood in its body boiled violently. Its physical body, which could resist the shackles of the spirit domain, also showed signs of collapse. It was also at this moment, another huge demonic beast came from afar. The familiar appearance made him instantly recognize the demonic beast's identity. Three-headed green feather kite. It was exactly the same three-headed green feather kite. Only in terms of aura, it was much stronger than the three-headed green feather kite that was killed in the Liang Mountain boundary. Just like the six-armed demonic beast, the other party was also in the god martial realm. Seeing this, Qin Shujian's eyes turned cold and he shouted angrily, "Saber, come!" As soon as he finished speaking, the long saber broke through the air and instantly fell into his hand. Immediately, all the power in his body gathered in the long saber. 3 Dao seals appeared on the blade. The next moment, the spirit returned to his body. Qin Shujian took a step forward and approached the six-armed demonic beast. The long saber slashed at the opponent. Boom! Chapter 343. The six-armed beast was already at a disadvantage. At this moment, Qin Shujian was holding a doctrine artifact, so it was impossible for him to resist. As for the beast's powerful body that it was proud of, it was useless in front of a doctrine artifact. The long saber swept past. With a large rain of blood, the six-armed beast's head was directly cut off by 1,000 mountain blood. The hill-sized head fell heavily to the ground. At this moment, the three-headed green feather kite also swooped down. Qin Shujian waved his hand and countless formation patterns condensed in the void. A large formation instantly covered and swallowed the three-headed green feather kite. Immediately, then, he stepped into the formation. It took less than a minute. The formation was broken. The three-headed green feather kite was already gone. It only took a minute. A demonic beast of the god martial realm had died just like that. Not even its corpse was left behind. Everyone on the city wall was shocked. In the air, Qin Shujian looked at the large number of demonic beasts below, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. In the next moment, a large array appeared from the void and covered 1/3 of the demonic beasts on the battlefield. The close combat with the six-armed monster beast had already vented the fighting spirit in his heart. As for the remaining beasts, there was no need to fight them head-on. After all, there were many beasts now. Although the beast tide was fierce, in Qin Shujian's eyes, it was also a huge source of life waving to him. If too many beasts died in the hands of the defenders, it would be an invisible loss for him. Stars shift. The void changed. The doctrine artifact 1,000 mountain blood suppressed everything as the formation eye. In the void, the monstrous hellfire of King Ming burned and swallowed all the beasts. It didn't matter if they were god martial arts realm beasts. They were true martial arts realm beasts or spirit martial arts realm beasts. In front of the hellfire of King Ming, they had no power to resist at all. Fire lotuses formed one after another. Then Qin Shujian stretched out his hand, and all the fire lotuses fell into his hand. Waves of pure energy gushed out from the fire lotus. After that, they converged into the spirit deity that was being nurtured in his mind. At the same time, his life source was also rising at a speed visible to the naked eye. Qin Shujian also realized a problem. That was, the life force gained from devouring the fire lotus was about twice as much as the life force gained from simply killing the same level of demon beasts. As for the reason for the discovery, there was a strong contrast between the six-armed demonic beast and the three-headed green feather kite that had been devoured by the Ming King Hellfire. Devouring fiery lotus. Not only would he obtain more life force, but he would also be able to improve his spiritual deity. But such a secret. Qin Shujian also knew that he could not easily expose himself. Therefore, when he used the Bright King Hellfire, he used the array as a cover. In less than 10 minutes, when the formation was broken, everyone only saw Qin Shujian appear in mid-air. As for the tens of thousands of demonic beasts that were swallowed by the formation, they were nowhere to be seen. Array Dao Master. This is the method of an array master. Seeing this, Song Ziming sucked in a breath of cold air. How long had it been? Tens of thousands of demonic beasts had all disappeared. Under such circumstances, everyone knew what it meant to disappear. There were no corpses left. In just a short while, tens of thousands of demonic beasts had already disappeared without a trace. Such power. At the same time, it made him feel a chill in his heart. Too strong. So strong that it made people unable to resist at all. At this moment, the commotion on the East City wall naturally attracted the attention of the other experts in the ancient city. Very soon, several figures flew over and landed on top of the city wall. Feeling the commotion around him, Song Ziming hurriedly bowed and saluted. Greetings to the city master and all the lords. No need to be so polite. The city master Hua Anbong waved his hand slightly, but his eyes did not leave Qin Shujian's back at all. As for the other experts who followed him, they also looked at the back of the figure that was floating in the air and facing a large number of demonic beasts. Their eyes were also filled with doubt. Who is this? Sect Master Qin of Yuan's sect? Sect Master Qin? Hearing Song Ziming's words, Hua Anbong was surprised and immediately revealed a joyful expression. How could he not have heard of Qin Shujian's name? However, just by looking at his back, Hua Anbong could not recognize his specific identity. It was just that he did not have any information about when he came to the ancient city. As for the other experts who followed him, each of them had a different expression on their faces. Someone asked in surprise, "Is this the Array Master of Baiyun Mansion?" "That's right." Hiss. Hearing Hua Anbong's affirmation, the rest of the people were also shocked. At this moment, in the air, Qin Shujian looked at the demonic beasts that still did not retreat because of the disappearance of a large number of demonic beasts. In the next moment, he spread out his divine thought and a huge array directly descended from the void. Rumble. This array was even bigger than the previous one. In the blink of an eye, it covered all the demonic beasts. Inside the array, the demonic beasts roared and rushed, trying to break the confinement of the array. However, once the array was set up, it was not easy to break it unless one had the strength of the envoy of the Black Abyss. This time, it covered a lot of demonic beasts. Among them, there were a few God Martial Realm demonic beasts and many Spirit Martial Realm demonic beasts. These demonic beasts were not weak. However, it was difficult for them to do anything in the array. A bow, an arrow, and a long saber. The three Taoist weapons suppressed the void and directly served as the array core to stabilize the array. Then, the bright King Hellfire burned the void and endless saber chi poured down. Some God Martial Realm demonic beasts were unwilling to die. They directly stepped into the air and attacked Qin Shujian. Fourth grade Golden Lotus appeared. The top two seal Taoist weapons defense was amazing. Unless it was a Taoist weapon of the same level or an attack that had reached the peak of the God Martial Realm, the defensive shield could not be shaken at all. Bang! The attack collided with the shield. The pale golden shield only shook slightly. Then, Qin Shujian wrote an array pattern and it landed in the void. In an instant, a thick thunderbolt struck down and hit the demonic beast until it coughed up blood and fell from the void. In the next second, it was already swallowed by the bright King Hellfire. Boom! Thousands of demonic beasts wailed but could not do anything to the array or resist the power of the bright King Hellfire. Qin Shujian looked at all this indifferently. There was no ripple in his heart. They were not of the same race. Their intentions were definitely different. The beast tide caused by the demonic beasts had rushed all the way to the ancient city. It was easy to imagine how many people had died in the demonic beasts' mouths. After all, when the ancient city had been upgraded in the Liang Mountain Spiritual Protectorate, it had been in the True Dominion. Close to the Spirit Resonance True Dominion were many ordinary dominions. Now, the beast tide had arrived. It must have broken through the former ordinary dominions to reach this place. Perhaps in the demonic beast's eyes, the human race was just food. However, in Qin Shujian's eyes, these demonic beasts were just food for him. However, the beast tide this time made him think of many things. Demonic beasts would not easily leave the endless mountain range. This was an imprint hidden in their bloodline inheritance. Under normal circumstances, they would not go against it. In terms of intelligence, demonic beasts were at most slightly higher than ordinary wild beasts. However, they were not qualified to break away from being beasts. They followed the information of the bloodline inheritance. Now that the thousands of demonic beasts had stepped out of the endless mountain range, there must be something behind them. Qin Shujian only had to think about it for a moment before he understood. Among them, there must be the demon race's shadow. The human emperor has just passed away, but the demon race could not hold back and attacked. The beast tide might just be the beginning. I don't know how much trouble there will be in the future. Qin Shujian's heart sank. Compared to the demon race's strength, the origin sect was too weak. Even if he were to use all of his means, he would only be equivalent to a celestial being. Furthermore, he was not very strong. He looked at the demon race again. The other party could fight with the human emperor for so long and still not attack the endless mountain range, even after the unification of the great Zhao Empire. The demon race definitely did not lack heaven beings. It was not as simple as just one or two. This kind of strength, it was shockingly strong. At this moment, Qin Shujian also had an urge to urgently improve his strength. But he was also clear. This kind of thing could not be rushed in a short period of time. At this moment, as the array was activated, the weaker demonic beasts had been burned to ashes by the Ming King Hellfire and turned into fire lotuses floating in the void. As for the stronger demonic beasts, they were also at the stage of being spent. Not long after, except for Qin Shujian, there was no other living creature in the array. Only the tens of thousands of fire lotuses condensed in the void, like a sky full of starfire, giving people a dazzling color. The next moment, following Qin Shujian's thought, the tens of thousands of fire lotuses gradually gathered together, forming a huge fire lotus. Then, a powerful divine thought fell on the huge fire lotus, compressing it step by step. Soon, the fire lotus that was more than 100 feet long was forcibly compressed to the size of a palm. The originally dark red fire lotus had turned purple-black at this moment, giving people an illusion that it was extremely bewitching and evil. He held the purple-black fire lotus with one hand. The unimaginably pure energy directly poured into his body from the fire lotus. Originally, after absorbing the last batch of demonic beasts, the spiritual deity that had reached a height of 32 feet was growing at a speed that could be perceived. 33, 34, 35, 36. Boom. After all the energy was exhausted, the spiritual deity was already fixed at a height of 37 feet. In an instant, a terrifying power was emitted from Qin Shujian's body, sweeping in all directions like a wave. At this moment, Qin Shujian even felt that his body was floating as if there was nothing, and that his spiritual deity would leave his body at any time. This was a sudden change. It made his expression become solemn, and then he used his mind to forcibly stabilize the connection between the spiritual deity and his physical body. It seems that the spiritual deity has grown too fast and has exceeded the limit of the body, so this situation has occurred. Chapter 344. The Great Array Shattered. All the demon beasts disappeared. Qin Shujian was the only one standing in the void. After a while, he flew back and landed on top of the city wall. Seeing this, Huanbong immediately went up to greet him. Just as he was about to speak, he subconsciously met Qin Shujian's eyes. Immediately, he was stunned on the spot. After a long time, Huanbong barely regained his senses, but he no longer dared to meet Qin Shujian's gaze. Suppressing the shock in his heart, he said, "I am the city lord of ancient city, Hua Anbong. Greetings to sect master Qin." City lord Hua, there's no need to be so polite. This time, sect master Qin has taken action to solve the beast tide disaster in my ancient city. It is truly a blessing to the people. You should accept my salute. While speaking, Hua Anbong had already bowed deeply. As for the other guards on the city wall, they also bowed to Qin Shujian. To this, Qin Shujian did not say anything else and calmly accepted this salute. In the end, he was the one who dealt with the beast tide. It could be said that he had saved their lives. A life in exchange for a big gift was not an excessive thing. As for the others, they all came over to pay their respects. When they met Qin Shujian's eyes, they were the same as Hua Anbang. Their expressions were all shocked, but they quickly came back to their senses. Although their expressions remained calm, their hearts were extremely shocked. Divine sense intimidation? Just by looking at him, he was able to intimidate cultivators like Hua Anbang, who were in the airborne realm. Even great cultivators like them were affected. In this situation, only when one's divine sense had reached an extremely strong level could one achieve such a level. If they remembered correctly, the other party was only a great cultivator of the illustrious saint stage. But now it seemed, this divine sense intimidation was definitely not something that an illustrious saint stage cultivator could possess. In terms of purity and overflow, even an ordinary divine martial realm cultivator would find it difficult to reach. After the salute, Hua Anbang said, "Please wait a moment, Sect Master Qin. After I deal with the remaining demon beasts, I will personally host a banquet at the city lord's mansion." On the four walls of the ancient city, only the east wall suffered the most attacks from the demon beasts. As for the other three walls, their numbers were much lower. This time, Qin Shujian had wiped out all the demonic beasts on the eastern city wall. 80% of the demonic beasts that had besieged the ancient city had been wiped out. The remaining 20%, the ancient city's own power was enough to deal with it. Regarding this, Hua Anbang couldn't ask Qin Shujian to take action again. After all, Xinqing also wanted to save face. However, when Hua Anbang mentioned the beasts, Qin Shujian immediately said, "There is no need to hold a banquet. Now that the beast tide has not been solved, I definitely have no reason to stop and watch. Allow me to exterminate the other demonic beasts before coming back to meet with the city lord." After saying this, without waiting for Hua Anbang to speak, he directly flew away from the city wall and circled to the other neighboring city walls. Look at this. Hua Anbang couldn't help but sigh. Sect Master Qin is really warm-hearted. My ancient city owes you a lot in this matter. City Lord, if it wasn't for sect leader Qin, I'm afraid that the city walls would have been breached. Song Ziming, who was at the side, also said with emotion. Only after sending people to clean up the battlefield, just now did they understand the extent of the damage to the city walls. If the demonic beasts were allowed to attack, once the city walls collapsed, the entire ancient city would be in big trouble. Hearing this, many people nodded in agreement. Even the experts sent by the imperial court secretly nodded in agreement with Qin Shujian's actions. This time, there were demonic beasts everywhere. It was impossible for the imperial court to completely sit back and do nothing. Even if the human emperor had passed away and the situation was turbulent, they still needed to send experts to various places to suppress the demonic beasts. It could be said that, now that the entire Great Zhao had fallen into a precarious situation with the fall of the human emperor, it was precisely the time that they needed enthusiastic cultivators like Qin Shujian. Hua Anbang and the others thought in their hearts. Qin Shujian had no idea at all. At this moment, he urgently needed a large amount of life source to increase his strength. The demonic beasts were terrifying to others, but for Qin Shujian, this was a large amount of life source. Presently, the battle on the other three city walls was also intense. However, because the number of demonic beasts was small, they were able to fight back and forth with the defenders and a large number of players. Moreover, they had a great advantage. There were even players who directly left the city and formed teams to hunt demonic beasts. At this moment, 5 players were besieging a heavily injured spirit god realm demonic beast. Pay attention to your positioning. Don't let it counterattack before it dies. Be careful, it's going to counterattack. The players' eyes were excited, but their expressions were solemn. They didn't dare relax at all. Their skillful positioning and extraordinary attacks were slowly wearing down the demonic beast's vitality. Even if 5 people split a spirit god realm demonic beast, they would still obtain a lot of experience points. If they were lucky enough to obtain a demonic beast core, then they would make a huge profit. Moreover, the The probability of a spirit god realm demonic beast possessing a demonic beast core was extremely high. With their strength at the inner energy realm, they usually didn't have the chance to hunt spirit god realm demonic beasts. After all, this game was different from other games. If it was any other game, they could just use players to kill it, and they would definitely be able to defeat it as long as their health dropped. But they couldn't do that in this game. There was no other reason. Just the fact that they would drop a realm every time they died was a loss that many players couldn't bear. Especially when the realm in the game world was linked to cultivation in reality, then the importance of realm was even greater. The demonic beast can't hold on any longer. Let's work harder and destroy it. The leader of the players had an excited expression. Just as they were about to kill the demonic beast, a cold light suddenly flashed before their eyes. In the next moment, the demonic beast's head directly exploded, and an arrow condensed from spirit energy slowly dissipated in their line of sight. It was a sudden change. The 5 players were dumbfounded. Very soon, the few of them came to their senses, and their faces were filled with anger. Their kill was stolen. When they were just a step away, their kill was actually stolen. With furious eyes, the players turned their heads to look, and they were stunned again. What did they see? A bow. A bow was hunting the demonic beast. Seeing this, someone couldn't help but wipe his eyes with his hand, thinking that he was seeing things. Did a bow steal my kill? They originally thought that it was other players who stole their kill, but in the end, it was a bow. This was a little awkward, but very soon. Then, someone came over from the sky. Instantly, some players recognized the identity of the person who came. Liang Shan Fort Master. Ignoring the thoughts of the players below, the Cosmos Bao dealt with those wandering demonic beasts. As for Qin Shujian, his gaze was all on the demonic beasts below the city wall. The next second, the great array directly descended, covering all the demonic beasts. It took less than 10 minutes in total. The great array dissipated, and Qin Shujian had already flown away again. The difference was, there were originally a lot of demonic beasts, but now there was not a single one left. Even some of the demonic beasts that were surrounded by players were all killed by the Cosmos Bao. For a moment, there were countless players who had their kill stolen. Looking at the empty place, many players thought that they were living in a dream. After a short silence, a player said angrily, "This is AF * King Array Master. How is this an Array Master? This is clearly a monster leveling machine. If I had this method, my level would have increased by leaps and bounds. I want to ask, which family is the best at learning arrays? Bring me along." This was the first time many people had seen the methods of an array master. This kind of method of harvesting a large number of demonic beasts with a wave of his hand really made all the players envious. If he had the same method as the Liangshan Fort Master, he wouldn't have to be afraid of killing monsters slowly. He would directly rush into the endless mountain range and kill a bunch of monsters. His level would increase by leaps and bounds, and it would be faster than eating experience pills. And eating experience pills. There was also the problem of medicinal properties that needed to be paid attention to. He couldn't eat it too often. After eliminating the demonic beasts outside the South City, Qin Shujian continued to wander around the West City and North City, killing all the remaining demonic beasts. As for the harvest, the spirit god had grown by another 10 feet, reaching a height of 38 feet. After that, Qin Shujian felt that the spirit god had reached a limit in a short period of time. If it continued to grow, it would probably break free from the shackles of its physical body. Ascension? Thinking of a certain rumor, he directly shook his head and drove this idea out of his mind. So, after the spirit god reached the limit, Qin Shujian no longer used the Ming King Hellfire to refine it. Instead, he used the power of the array to kill it. In this way, without the fire lotus to devour, the life source obtained from killing the demonic beasts was also reduced by half. However, as a harvest, he could collect enough beast cores from the corpses of the demonic beasts. Looking at the more than 65 million life sources, Qin Shujian's face finally revealed a bright smile. In other words, in less than half a day, the demonic beast tied in the ancient city had contributed 30 million life sources to him. Such a fast way of harvesting. It made Qin Shujian's heart palpitate with excitement. If such a demonic beast tide came a few more times, he would definitely be able to collect enough life sources to perfect the Gue Yuan ancestral code. Soon, Qin Shujian walked around the entire ancient city. After ensuring that there were no demonic beasts left, he returned to the starting point. After seeing Hua Anbang, without waiting for the other party to speak, he immediately said, "City Lord Hua, all the demonic beasts have been killed. I have other things to do here, so I won't stay any longer. Goodbye." Hua Anbang originally wanted to say something, but he didn't have the chance to speak at all, because Qin Shujian had already left the city at this moment and directly headed for the teleportation gate in the city. Seeing this, he had no choice but to shut his mouth and suppress the idea of keeping the other party and hosting a banquet to entertain him. Seeing this, Song Ziming couldn't help but say, now that the Origin sect is also under attack by the demonic beast tide, Sect Master Qin must be in a hurry to go back to deal with the demonic beast tide. That's why he left in such a hurry. Hearing this, Hua Anbang sighed and said, the Origin sect is under attack by the demonic beast tide, but Sect Master Qin didn't rush back immediately. Instead, he took the initiative to solve the crisis in the ancient city. This spirit of self-sacrifice is really admirable. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.